He poured scalding water on my head and pulled my hair out. The girl begged a Hell's Angel for help. The coffee cup shook in Lily's hand. She watched the brown liquid tremble and spill over the rim. Her fingers were raw. Her arms ached. Marcus had been in one of his moods again. She pulled the beanie lower over her head. The wool scratched against her scalp where the hair was gone. She could still feel the heat from the boiling water, the shock of it on her skin spoiled by the pain. She was 3 blocks from the diner when her legs gave out. She leaned against a chain-link fence and sucked in cold night air. The neon sign read Rosie's Roadside Diner. Open 24 hours. Through the window, she saw people in booths, laughing, eating pie. Normal people. Lily thought she had been normal once. Before Marcus. Before she learned to flinch at loud voices and sudden movements. She pushed through the door. The bell jingled. The waitress looked up, took one look at her, and pointed to a corner booth. Lily slid in, pulled the beanie lower, and ordered a coffee she couldn't afford. That's when she saw him. He sat 3 booths away, a mountain of a man in a black leather vest covered in patches. His arms were thick as fire hydrants, covered in scars and ink. Gray streaked his beard. He had a mug of black coffee in front of him, untouched. Before you continue listening, please let me know where in the world are you watching from today. Now back to the story. He was watching her. Not staring, watching, like a hawk watches a field mouse. Lily looked away, heart pounding. She'd seen men like him in movies, dangerous men, men who took what they wanted. She pulled the beanie tighter over her scalp. The burns on her arms screamed under her sweater. She didn't think about the pain. She thought about Marcus, his smile when he'd poured the coffee, the way he laughed. The biker stood up. He walked over slowly, boots heavy on the tile. Lily tensed. He didn't stop at her table. He kept walking, past her, out the door. But his eyes met hers for a single-second skip forward. Lily watched the big man walk outside. The diner bell jingled. She let out a breath she did not know she was holding. She had been so good at hiding, running, staying quiet mobility. She looked at her hands. They were still shaking from last night. She touched her head. The beanie was soft. Under it there were bald patches where Marcus had pulled her hair out. She shuddered. The diner owner, a tired man named Sal, refilled her coffee. "You okay, sweetheart?" "Yeah," Lily said. "Just tired." Sal did not believe her. But he did not push. He just nodded and walked away. Lily stared at the cracked mug. She had no phone, no money, no plan. Her whole body ached from the night before. Skip forward 30 minutes. She has finished her coffee, has nowhere to go. The big biker is still there, nursing his coffee stub. Hawk stood up. He dropped a few bills on the table and walked over to a young woman with a beanie pulled down over her forehead. He could see fresh burn marks along her wrists. He had seen that kind of injury before, many times. "You need a ride?" he asked. The girl looked at the patches on his vest. Death's head. Skulls. He saw her hesitate. "I know a safe place," he said. He didn't push. He just stood there, patient. "You don't know me," she whispered. "You're right. But I know a person in pain when I see one." Lily shivered. The air outside was cold forged. Her fingers trembled. She looked at him, looked at the door, then back at him. She had a bad feeling about trusting anyone, but the shelter was full. I don't have money for gas," she said. Didn't ask for any. She stood up. Her legs hurt. It was hard to walk. He held out a hand to steady her, and she flinched. He pulled his hand back fast, like he had touched fire. "Sorry," he said. "I should know better." The way he said it. Quiet, careful, like he knew what it felt like to be scared. Lily followed him out to a motorcycle. It was big and black and shiny. The engine rumbled like thunder. "Name's Hawk," he said, handing her a helmet jagged with age. Lily, he repeated. "That's a pretty name. You going to let me help you, Lily?" She looked at his face. His eyes were hard, but not mean. There was something else in them. Something sad. Like he had seen her pain before in someone else's eyes. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Garage. My club's garage. It's safe, I promise." She climbed on the back. Her arms wrapped around his big chest. She was crying before the bike moved. Tears soaked into his leather vest. He didn't say anything. He just started the engine and drove. The garage was huge and warm. Oil stains covered the floor. Tools hung on pegboards. 4 other bikers were there. They stopped talking when she walked in. Lily froze. A woman with strong arms and tired eyes stepped forward. She looked at Lily's beanie, at the bruises on her wrists. "Another one?" she said softly. Hawk nodded. "Come on, sweetheart," the woman said. "I'm Sophia. Let's get you cleaned up." Sophia brought her to a back room with a cot and a first aid kit. She helped Lily take off the beanie. Lily's hair was patchy and short in places where Marcus had pulled it out. Her scalp was red and raw. Sophia didn't gasp. She didn't look away. She just said, "That must have hurt something fierce." Lily nodded. She could not stop the tears. "I got you," Sophia said. "You're safe here. Nobody's going to hurt you again." Later, Hawk brought in a bowl of soup. It was hot and thick with potatoes and carrots. Lily ate like she had not eaten in days. She had not. Marcus had stopped letting her use the kitchen. When she was done, she looked at Hawk. He sat on an overturned bucket, silent. There was a tattoo on his forearm. A name. It said, Emily. Lily did not ask whose name it was scrubbed. "Thank you," she said. He nodded. That was all. Over the next few days, Lily learned the rhythm of the garage. The bikers were rough. They swore. They were loud. But they never once made her feel small. Sophia taught her basic self-defense moves. If a man grabs your wrist, twist out like this. Hawk gave her a phone to call people. She had no one to call. She started talking, little by little, about Marcus, about the apartment, about the camera she had hidden in a teddy bear, about the hours of recordings, proof of every cruel thing he had done. "Where's the phone?" Hawk asked, voice low. "His penthouse. He kept it. When I ran, I forgot it." Hawk's jaw tightened. He exchanged a look with a quiet man named Ghost. Ghost nodded once, skipped forward. 2 nights later, Lily was sleeping in the back room of the garage. A soft knock woke her up. It was Hawk. He looked tired but held a small phone in his hand. Her phone. "Oh my God," she breathed. "We got it," he said. Ghost found it in his office. There was other stuff too. Papers, documents. That man is running some kind of identity ring. Stealing from old people. Lily's chest ached. She grabbed the phone naturally. Her hands were shaking aggressions. Hesitation flickered in her eyes. Then she opened the audio files. Marcus's voice filled the room. Mean, cruel, threatening. Hawk listened without moving. His face went very still. "It's enough," he said. "This is enough to put him away for a long, long time." "We should go to the police now," Lily said. "We will, but we have to be careful. Marcus has money. He has lawyers. We need proof that he can't hide." They told the plan to the others. Sophia listened with her arms crossed. A quiet man named Ghost cleaned his fingernails with a knife. A big man named Bear poured coffee. "We ride to the police station tomorrow," Hawk said. "Together, every single one of us. They'll be less likely to ignore us if we make a scene." Lily felt hope for the first time in weeks. But Marcus was not done. On the third night, Lily woke to screaming. Fire red and orange in the windows of the garage. Bear was dragging a hose. Sophia was shouting. Lily ran outside and saw the flames licking the walls where the motorcycles were parked. And in the middle of the chaos, there was Marcus. He stood across the street, watching. He smiled at Lily. Then, he pointed at the garage. And he pointed at Hawk. By sunrise, the police were there. Marcus had called them first. He told them Hawk started the fire. He had a video. He had doctored it. It looked real. It showed Hawk near the gas cans. Hawk was arrested. Lily tried to scream, tried to tell the truth. But the police took her statement, looked at the video, and said Marcus was open about Hawk's club running protection in the area. That was his story. And it stuck. They took Hawk away in handcuffs. He looked at Lily and said, "Run. Get somewhere safe. I'll be fine." The garage was gone. The bikers were scattered. Lily had nowhere to go. She sat on the curb, hip to the cold, nothing left. She cried until she had no tears left. Then, 3 little women appeared in front of her. One was gray-haired and sharp-eyed. She wore a bright yellow coat. The other was small and tiny, with round glasses and a cat on a leash. The third was tall and thin, with silver hair in a bun. She held a notebook. "Girl," the one in the yellow coat said, "you look like you've been through the ringer." "I'm Ruth," said the second. "This is my friend Patricia, and that quiet one there is Carol. We're here to help." "Why?" Lily asked, voice broken. "Because Marcus stole our savings," Ruth said. "All 3 of us. Identity theft. Cleaned us out. We testified. We pressed charges. And still he walked." Carol nodded, "And we saw what he did to you in the hearings. We read the transcripts." Lily was quiet. "Those records were my only hope," Lily whispered. "Now the police have them, but they say the case is weak." One of his friends erased the records. "Pfft," Ruth said. "Records? We don't need records. We need that fool to run his mouth." Carol grinned. "We have an idea. 3 old women and 1 scared young woman. That was their new team?" The idea was simple. Ruth had typed a letter to the focus of the community, a fraud prevention workshop. She signed the invitation as the event coordinator. Marcus received his invitation with a gold-embossed seal. He liked nice things. He liked being seen. They knew he would come. The workshop was in a community center in a church building. Bear and Ghost fixed the stage lights. Sophia put cameras in corners. Lily printed flyers. Ruth used her old sharp memory to memorize every detail of Marcus's crime's pendulum. "We just have to get him talking," Lily said. "Boasting," Ruth corrected. "Men like that love to hear themselves talk. Trust me, I raised 3 sons." The day came. Marcus arrived in a suit. He looked clean and charming. Lily hid in the back row, wearing a curly wig and big glasses. It was her job to stay invisible. The moderator introduced Marcus as a financial safety expert. Lily almost laughed. He got on stage and talked about internet scams, about identity protection. He was good. The crowd nodded and smiled. But Ruth raised her hand. "Mr. Marcus," she said, her voice sweet and shaky. My friend here had her whole pension stolen. Can you explain how someone might do that? Marcus smiled. That's terrible, ma'am. Usually these are sophisticated operations based overseas. Sophia spoke next. What about a local operation? One that used personal documents stolen from seniors? Marcus's smile twitched. I'm not sure I follow. Mabel stood up. Follow this, sweetheart. How does someone go about setting up a shell company to hide stolen money? The room went quiet. Marcus's eyes darted to the back. He saw Lily. Her wig was off. She walked to the front row contact. The cell phone in her hand was recording. You're being live broadcasted, Marcus, Lily said. Right now. On the internet. 40,000 people watching. Marcus's face went pale, then red. You can't prove anything, he hissed. Want to bet? Ruth pulled out a folder. I was a bookkeeper for 40 years. Those numbers you thought were hidden? They were not that hidden. Marcus laughed, but it was nervous. You think you're clever, he said. You think you got lucky. No, said Lily. We got smart. The moderator looked on, confused. The crowd whispered. Then a man in the back stood up. He held a police badge. He had been sitting there the whole time. Marcus Reed, he said. You're under arrest for fraud and assault. The audience gasped. Marcus turned red. He tried to run, but Bear and Ghost stood at both exits, arms folded. Marcus stopped. He looked at Lily. His face twisted with rage. You think you won? He spat. You're nothing. You're trash. Lily looked at him. She pulled the beanie off her head. The scars were there for everyone to see. The bruises faded to yellow, but she stood tall. I'm not trash, she said. I'm the woman who just beat you. The police cuffed him. The internet had everything. Real time. Unedited, there was no way to spin it. In the weeks that followed, Hawk's name was cleared. The motorcycle club garage got new bikes. Lily moved into a small apartment above the garage. The women called her their granddaughter. One evening, Hawk found her sitting outside, watching the sun set. He sat down beside her. You know, he said, I made a decision. What's that? I'm starting a nonprofit. We're going to help women get out of bad situations. The club will back it. You in? Lily looked at his rough face staining in the orange glow. On his forearm, the name Emily was still visible. She had asked him about Emily a week ago. Hawk had said, my daughter. Marcus took her from me. I never got to see her grow up. But I can help other girls like you. That's how I keep her memory alive. Lily looked at him now. Ingabi, she said. Muth Ashi _yes, she said. I'm in. And when Hawk pulled a folded paper from his vest, it looked old. A legal document showing Marcus had been Emily's attacker years ago. He could have gotten revenge. But he did not. The old me would have shot him, Hawk said quietly. But you showed me there is a better way. Lily smiled. We showed each other. The club decided to name their new place Second Chances. It was not just the name of the building. It was what they all got. A second chance. That night, they stood together around a fire barrel, the old bikers and the young woman. Sophia handed Lily a leather jacket. On the back, it read Lily Bear, the name the club had given her. It was too big. It smelled like motorcycle grease. She wore it anyway, every single day. The coffee cup shook in Lily's hand. She watched the brown liquid tremble and spill over the rim. Her fingers were raw. Her arms ached. Marcus had been in one of his moods again. She pulled the beanie lower over her head. The wool scratched against her scalp where the hair was gone. She could still feel the heat from the boiling water, the shock of it on her skin. She was 3 blocks from the diner when her legs gave out. She leaned against a chain-link fence and sucked in cold night air. The neon sign read Rosie's Roadside Diner. Open 24 hours. Through the window, she saw people in booths, laughing, eating pie. Normal people. Lily thought she had been normal once. Before Marcus. Before she learned to flinch at loud voices and sudden movements. She pushed through the door. The bell jingled. The waitress looked up and took one look at her. Her name was Darla. She had been working the night shift for 11 years. She had seen drunk truckers, broken-down travelers, even a man who came in with a knife in his arm once. But the girl who just walked in scared her more than all of them. The girl's lip was split. Her wrist was purple and swollen, and when she ordered a coffee, her voice sounded like it was coming from inside a grave. Darla wanted to call an ambulance. She really did. But she thought about the man who might be looking for this girl. She thought about the way the girl checked the window every few seconds, searching, terrified. Darla did not call anyone. "What's up with you, Sal?" she said as she filled the cracked mug. Lily did not answer. She just wrapped her fingers around the warm cup and stared at the door. A big man sat at the counter 3 feet away. His name was Hawk. At least, that's what everyone called him. He was 45 years old. He wore a black leather vest covered in patches. His arms were thick as tree trunks. His beard was gray at the edges. He drank his coffee black, and he never once looked at Lily. Not directly. But he saw her. He saw the tremble in her hands. He saw the way she held her shoulders like they hurt. He saw her scan the door, the windows, the parking lot. He knew that look. He had seen that look on his daughter's face. Lily dropped her spoon. It clattered on the floor. She flinched like a gun had gone off. She reached down to pick it up, but her arm was too sore. She made a small sound, a whimper, and pressed her fingers into her shoulder blade. Hawk pushed his coffee cup aside, shot to his boot. He walked over to her booth. He felt the weight of his feet on the floor. He had big boots. Heavy, Lily looked up, eyes wide as she tried to look like she wasn't there. Sorry, she said. "I'll get it." He didn't say anything. He just bent down, picked up the spoon, and set it on the table. It was still used. Then he sat in the seat across from her. She did not shy away. She was a little. "You all right?" he asked. "I'm fine," she said. "Just a bad day. I'll be fine." He nodded, but he did not believe her. He had seen it too many times to be fooled. He couldn't see the fresh burn on her wrist. He saw the way her hand moved to her head, touching the beanie. He saw the track marks of fear. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Lily froze. Her eyes darted. She looked at the door. "Nobody," she whispered. "Girl," he said, and his voice was low. His voice was careful. "I am not going to hurt you. I am not going to run. I'm not going to think any less of you for telling me the truth." Lily's lip trembled. She looked down at the tablecloth. The tears crawled up her eyes. She pinched them. His face had been burned into her mind since the coffee. He was going to burst that barn. He had followed her. She looked at the door again. A man hurry. She gripped the table. "He'll kill me," she whispered. It was so quiet. It was so low that the only thing Hawk heard was the sound of the soft breeze. He didn't say anything. He let the words sit between them. "Do you want to stay here?" he asked. "There's no point," she said. "He's got connections. He's got money. He's got cameras." Hawk nodded. He understood that. He understood that helplessness. "There's a place I know," he said. "My motorcycle club's garage. The women there know how to help. Sophia can look at your injuries and set you straight." Lily looked at him. Search his face. She looked for the trick. She looked for the smile that would show that he wanted something. He didn't do anything. He just sat there. Steady, big, like a mountain that had no reason to move. "I don't know you," she said. "No, but I know pain when I see it. And I know that when a woman has that look in her eye, she has nowhere else to go." Lily's chest filled. She tried to hold it back. But then a tear broke loose, then another. Then her whole body shook. She tried to hide the sound, but it cracked something open. Hawk didn't touch her. He didn't reach. He just sat there. "Can you stand?" he asked. "No," she said. "Yeah, you can," he said. "One step at a time. I'll help you get up. Then you'll have a decision." He reached out his hand. He placed it on the table, palm open, and let her accept it. She didn't have to. He gave her that choice. After a long moment, she put her hand in his. It was lost under his giant palm. He didn't squeeze, he just held it gently like she was made of glass. He helped her up. Her legs shook. He kept one hand on her elbow, careful not to grab. He placed a few bills on the table. He nodded to Darla. "Thank you." Then he looked at Lily. "I'll take you somewhere safe," he said. She looked him in the eye. One last chance. He waited. She nodded. He led her outside. The night air was sharp and cold. The parking lot was empty except for one motorcycle. It was big and black and low. It looked like it could outrun anything. He picked up a spare helmet from the saddlebag. It was dark. He held it out. "Put this on," he said. "It's a little heavy, but it'll keep your head warm and your face hidden." She took it. The plastic was cold in her hands. She put it on. The world went quiet and muffled. She felt a ghost of trouble from the beanie. She raised her leg, but her knees gave out. Hawk catch it with his arm. He didn't laugh. He helped her up the back of the bike. "When you're ready, hold on to me." She wrapped her arms around his body. His vest was warm from his body heat. He kicked the engine to life. It roared. She tensed. Then she leaned forward and buried her face in his leather back. The bike moved. The lights of the diner faded. The wind whipped past her. They rode into the night. Guys, and for the first time in a very, very long time, Lily felt the world getting bigger. The road did not shake. The wide sky held the fences herd. She held on tight. The motorcycle engine died, and the silence rushed in like a wave. Lily lifted her head. They sat in front of a large building that looked like an old warehouse. The paint was peeling. The windows were dark. But a warm orange light spilled from the garage door, and she could hear voices inside. Laughter, music playing low. Hawk helped her off the bike. Her legs were shaky, but the ground felt solid. He kept his hand near her arm, not grabbing, just hovering, ready if she fell. "This is my home away from home," he said. A few of the club members are inside. They're rough around the edges, but they're good people. They'll understand. He walked her to the door and pushed it open. The garage smelled like oil and leather and coffee. Inside, a group of men and women sat around a folding table playing cards. Cigarette smoke curled toward the ceiling. A couple of bikes were up on lifts, half taken apart. Tools hung on the walls. A pile of tires sat in the corner. The card game stopped. A big man with a red beard looked up. He was broad across the chest, and his arms had tattoos that disappeared into his sleeves. He took one look at Lily, and his face softened. That might have been the scariest thing of all. He looked at her like a man who had seen this before. "Who's this, Hawk?" he asked. Hawk didn't move. He stood behind Lily like a wall. "She needs a place to stay. A safe place." The woman rose from her chair. She was stout and muscular, with short brown hair and a scar that ran along her jaw. Her vest was covered in patches. She walked over slowly, careful, and her voice was gentle. "I'm Bear," she said. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The sound of the word sweetheart almost broke Lily again. She rubbed her throat. "Lily." Bear looked at the cuts on Lily's forehead. She looked at the way Lily held her arm. She didn't point at the injuries or gasp, she just nodded. "Let's get you cleaned up," Bear said. She gave Hawk a look that said, "I need to talk to you later." The man with the red beard brought a first aid kit. His name was Red. He set it on the table and then disappeared into a back room. He came back with a hoodie and a pair of soft sweatpants. They were too big, and the oldest things Lily had ever seen. They were also the most beautiful. "These are my extras," Red said, his voice low. "I washed them last week. Promise they're clean." Lily took them with her good hand. "Thank you." Bear led her to a small bathroom at the back of the garage. The light was dim, and the mirror had a crack in it. Bear ran warm water in the sink and grabbed a clean rag. For the next 20 minutes, she tends to Lily's burns. She called them burns. Lily flinched when the cloth touched her scalp. She made a small sound, a hiss through her teeth. Bear paused. She didn't rush. "You don't have to be tough in here," Bear said. "You've been tough enough for longer than anyone should." Lily closed her eyes. The tears spilled out. Bear used water to clean her forehead and her split lip. She worked slow and careful. "You got a story, don't you?" Bear asked. Lily nodded. There was no. He wouldn't. "Whenever you're ready to tell it, we'll listen." Bear patted down her arm and the burns on her palms. She wrapped bandages around the worst spots. Then she helped Lily change into the big hoodie and the sweatpants. They was too big. Lily felt small curled up in them. But she didn't feel scared. Not the same one. Bear led her back to the main garage. A couch faced the heaters. It was old and brown, and it had a cigarette burn in the arm. Red had put a pillow on it. A blue one. Red was already there, with a bowl of soup, chicken, with noodles, and a spoon. "Eat," he said. "You can't run on empty." The rest of the bikers returned to their card game, but they kept glancing over. They were trying to give her space. They were also keeping watch. Lily, she had never been around people who looked watchful in a safe way. They were aware of her without smothering her. She ate. The soup was warm. Her stomach was so empty that the first bite made her dizzy. She finished half the bowl before her hand stopped shaking. They all were here. The couch sagged. The garage was dusty. The walls were covered in old signs and photos, but it didn't feel like a gang hangout. It felt like a fortress. After she finished the soup, she set the bowl on the floor. The bikers at the table went quiet again. Hawk sat in a worn armchair across from her. He didn't ask a question. Ghost sat beside him, as quiet as a shadow. Red stood near the tool bench. Bear sat next to Lily on the couch. They didn't push. It sat in the spread and waited. It was a heavy feeling, but not a bad one. It was presence. Lily looked down at her hands. Her fingers still hurt. The phone. The phone was the only thing she had been holding on to for months. "I have a phone." Her voice was small and rough. Everyone leaned in slightly. I recorded him. "Marcus," she spoke the name like poison. I recorded his rages, yelling, threats, even the bad times. I have 3 months of footage on a burner phone I kept hidden. He never knew about it. She swallowed. When he attacked me tonight, everything fell. I dropped it in his apartment. It's still there, I think. Under the bed, maybe, I don't know. Her voice cracked. If I could find that phone, they could put him away. Lily looked up with red and swollen eyes. I lost it. I had one thing and I lost it. The room went quiet. Red crossed his arms. Ghost looked up, his face. Bear reached over and wrapped her hand around Lily's shoulder. Hawk exchanged a long, knowing glance with Red. Then with Ghost. Something crossed among them. Something in their eyes went dark and fixed. Determined, a plan that wasn't spoken but was already forming. The next morning came gray and quiet. Lily woke on the couch with a blanket over her that she did not remember getting. Her head ached, her hands throbbed, but for the first time in months, she did not wake up afraid. Bear brought her a cup of coffee and a bagel. She sat with her while Hawk talked to Red and Ghost near the tool bench. Their voices were low. Lily caught pieces. Her apartment. The phone. "We go in while he is at work." Hawk walked over to Lily and crouched down. His eyes were tired, but steady. "We have a plan," he said. "Red, Ghost and I will go to the apartment. We will get the phone. Marcus will be at his office until 5. That gives us plenty of time." Lily set down her cup. "What if he comes back early?" Hawk shook his head. "He will not." Red watched his building this morning. He left at 8 and drove to his office. "We will be in and out before lunch." "Where do I go?" "There is a safe house on the other side of town," Hawk said. "Bear will take you there. You will lock the door and stay inside. No one will know you are there." Bear put a hand on Lily's shoulder. "I will stay with you the whole time. We can watch old movies and eat snacks. It will be okay." Lily wanted to argue. She wanted to be there when they found the phone, but her body hurt, and her mind was foggy. She nodded. Bear drove her to a small house on a quiet street. The paint was blue and peeling. The yard was overgrown. Inside, the furniture was old but clean. Bear locked the door and pulled the curtains. Lily sat on the couch and hugged a pillow. The clock on the wall ticked. "Now we wait," Bear said. The apartment building was tall and polished, the kind with a doorman and cameras. Hawk knew that Marcus liked fancy things. He also knew that money did not make a man safe. Ghost handled the lock. He crouched at the door with a small tool in his hand. In less than a minute, the lock clicked. Ghost slipped inside, and Hawk and Red followed. The apartment was clean and cold. White walls, black furniture, a big window with a view of the city. No photos on the walls, no personal touches. It felt like a showroom, not a home. Hawk moved to the bedroom. He got on his hands and knees and looked under the bed. Nothing. He checked the nightstand. Nothing. Then he pulled open the top drawer of the dresser. There it was. A small black burner phone, tucked under a stack of folded shirts. Hawk picked it up. He pressed the power button. The screen glowed. "It is here," he said. Red let out a breath. Ghost was not in the bedroom. He stood in the small office off the living room. He made a soft sound, almost like a question. Hawk walked over. Ghost pointed at a filing cabinet behind the desk. It was locked. Ghost did not need to ask. He pulled out his tool again and worked the lock. The drawer slid open. Inside were folders. Dozens of them. Hawk opened one. Bank statements, copies of driver's licenses, photos of elderly men and women with their names and addresses written on the back. Hawk picked up another folder. Same thing. Another same. "This is not just about Lily," Red said quietly. "Look at this." He held up a stack of photos. Seniors, smiling at birthday parties, sitting on porches, holding grandchildren. Hawk's jaw tightened. He tucked the folders into his jacket and placed the phone in his pocket. "We take everything," he said. Ghost locked the cabinet again. They slipped out the door the same way they came in. The whole thing took less than 20 minutes. Back at the safe house, Bear opened the door as soon as they knocked. Lily stood behind her, still wrapped in the too big hoodie. She looked like a small bird waiting in a storm. Hawk held out the phone. Lily took it with shaking hands. She pressed the home button. The screen lit up. She opened the recordings app. File after file, all there. Her voice cracked. "It is all here," she whispered. Every single time. Everything. Red stepped forward and set a folder on the table. Lily looked at it, then at him. He opened it. Photos of elderly people stared up at her. She touched one of the pictures. "What is this?" Red met her eyes. "Looks like identity theft." Lily looked at the photos again, then at the phone in her hand, then at Hawk, who stood quiet and still as stone. The recordings were one thing. This was another. Marcus was not just a man who hurt women. He was something bigger. And now they had proof. The clubhouse filled with the quiet rustle of paper. Folder after folder lay spread across the long wooden table. Photos of smiling grandparents. Bank statements. Names and addresses. Hawk stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the mess of evidence. Bear held up a driver's license copy. "I recognize this woman. She lives 2 blocks from my sister. She always waves at me when I ride by." Red shook his head slowly. He probably stole every dime she had. Lily ran her fingers over the phone in her hands. Her throat tightened. "We should take everything to the police," she said. "Right now." Together, Hawk looked up. "We will. First thing tomorrow morning. Sophia is already working on the paperwork." "We spent the night watching old movies," Bear said with a soft smile. "Lily cannot watch the news anymore." "Please," Lily said. "Let's move fast. Please." Hawk stepped toward her. "We will. We just need to do it the right way." One night, and then it is all over. The door of the clubhouse slammed open. Lily's heart shot into her throat. Marcus stood in the doorway, panting in a fitted white shirt, his belt undone. His face was full and red. His hand held a black gun, and it flashed in the fading evening light. "Lily," he shouted. His voice filled the room like the crackling of a broken speaker. "I know you are in here." Everything went still. No one moved. The only sound was the soft popcorn sliding across the table from the fan above the tool bench. Hawk stepped forward slowly. His arms stayed relaxed at his sides, but his posture made it clear he was ready to move. His voice was low and calm, like a man who had faced worse things. "Mister, you have no business here." Marcus laughed. It was high and sudden, with no real humor in it. "Look who's talking," Marcus sneered, waving the gun toward the table. "The old man who collects damaged women like stray pets." Hawk didn't flinch. "Leave this place. This is your last warning. This is a rescue mission for you, is that right?" Marcus tilted his head just like a snake would. You think you're a hero? Every time he quoted those words, Hawk's jaw shifted. But Hawk did not move. You want to know the truth, old man? Marcus stepped closer into the room. The gun stayed level with Hawk's chest. You've been hunting me for years, following my moves through your little biker family. You know exactly who I am, don't you? The room got cold and dark. Marcus smiled with small, perfect teeth. But here's the thing. He took one more step. I already ruined you once, Hawk, before you even knew who I was. Lily didn't understand. Red watched in silence. Bear breathed in sharply, her hand moving to Hazel, but did not want to move yet. You know who I am? Marcus asked. I'm the one who killed Emily. I came to you as a young man, full of charm, sweet words. And she believed me. And you, her loving father, sent her out my way. Hawk's hands clenched into fists. His breath came out hard and shaky. Marcus raised the gun exactly toward Hawk's chest. And you have been searching for the man who did this to her. The one who left her broken body. The one who got away with it. The whole world swirled around Lily. She thought back to the diner. She thought about how he had looked at her, how he had noticed her cold, shaking body. She thought about how Bear had been waiting at the safe house, and how the others had stayed so gently quiet. She had never told Hawk where she worked. She never told his brother. But they all knew. But they knew. She took a step back. Her trust and faith in her heart were dissolving right there in the garage, with the scent of oil and the ring of a gunshot. Hawk spotted her and turned, leaving him vulnerable. Pain moved in his eyes. Out loud, he said, Lily, I did not plan this. I was already looking for him. When I saw you, I knew. I knew he found you too, but I didn't see you as just a tool. I swear, don't take more than this, Marcus said with a laugh. He uses everyone. He used you too. He wants revenge for his dead little girl. Lily's heart throbbed. She looked at the gun in Marcus's hand, then at her rescuer. The man who held her injured in the garage, the man who fixed her blanket, the one who told stories over soup. But his words still echoed in her head. Get away from him, Lily, Marcus said, reaching out with his free hand. You don't need men like him. You're the only one I loved. Lily stepped back further. Her world was spinning. Marcus laughed, a sharp, ugly sound that bounced off the concrete walls. You hear that, old man? You hear how she backs away from you? She knows. She knows you are just another monster in a leather jacket. Hawk took a step forward, his hands open at his sides. His voice came out thick, like gravel stuck in his throat. You took my daughter. You took her life, but you will not take Lily from me. He pointed a finger at Marcus, and for the first time, his voice shook. Not while I am still breathing. Marcus laughed louder. He waved the gun in a wide arc, pointing its nose at the ceiling, then at the table, then back at Hawk. An ending. How touching. Don't worry, old man. I'll give you a hero's exit. The air in the garage thickened with tension. On the left, Red moved one slow step toward the side of the room. On the right, Ghost slipped into the shadows like smoke, his boots silent. Bear stayed tense by the tools, her eyes locked. No one wanted to move first. Marcus smug, too full of himself to notice the two shadows closing in. He flicked his wrist, the gun swaying in a dangerous circle. The only reason you found me is because my own girl here, he said, gesturing toward Lily, got too big for her britches. She thought she could leave. and now she is begging for protection from a man who means nothing to her. Hawk didn't shout. His voice was quiet that it almost got lost in the air. Emily trusted you, and you broke her into pieces. You left her like trash. I have lived with that pain for years, every day, but I am not the man you think I am. Marcus laughed. You are your daughter's father. That is all. You have nothing else. Red took the moment. He moved across the floor in 2 heavy strides. His left arm wrapped around Marcus's midsection like a metal band. His right hand shoved the gun to the side just as the trigger squeezed. The shot rang out. Zinc tore through plaster, dancing dust into the light. The gun clattered across the concrete floor. And then, Ghost descended like a silent avalanche, his tackle bringing Marcus down so hard that the wooden floor above the table shook. Marcus grunted and writhed. He twisted and kicked, but the 2 of them held him fast. Red pressed a knee onto the back of Marcus's shoulder, pressing him into the cold floor. I got him, Hawk. I got him. Ghost crouched close, pressing Marcus's face to the ground with one leather-covered hand. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. His grip was stone. Lily stood frozen. Her knees trembled beneath her. Her lungs felt too tight. She watched Marcus squirm and yell in anger, all of his going missing from his eyes, all of his control gone. On the ground, he was just a man. Not a monster in the light. Just a man. Then her eyes moved to Hawk. He stood still. His fists were clenched. His chest rose up and down with a heavy weight. The pulse in his jaw moved. He looked at the man who had broken his daughter's life, and the look in his eyes was dark and shaky. The dark swayed in the space between them. Lily saw something building in him. She knew that kind of feeling. She had been in that place, in the diner after the rain, so full of pain that you could explode and lose yourself. She walked over and put her hand on his arm. The leather was cold and hard. The muscles underneath were as tight as wire. Hawk didn't turn at first. His eyes stayed on Marcus. Don't become him, Lily whispered. Her voice was soft, but it cut through all of the loud noise. I know how easy it is to hate. I know how it bites. Don't let him take you too. The air above them stilled. Hawk blinked slowly. His breathing took its time to even out. He looked down at his hands. He looked at Marcus on the floor, growling and spitting. Then he looked at Lily. His lower lip moved, a breath, and then he looked down. He squeezed her hand and released it. I'm better than this, he said, almost to himself. But Lily heard him. And those were the words that brought everyone calm. Ghost nudged Red's shoulder and pointed his chin at the broken phone on the workbench. Red nodded and called the police. His voice was quiet and clear in the warehouse. When he described what happened, he added, "The evidence is in the folders on the table. It is all about the identity theft ring. And the assault survivor is here. Send a female officer, please." Minutes passed. The sirens came from far away, then grew loud. Red and Ghost held Marcus down the whole time. Hawk stood tall, and Lily stayed by his side. The police filled the warehouse with the flicker of blue lights. They held Marcus in handcuffs. First thing he told them was, "You're making a big mistake." But his voice had lost its power. The power was black on the ground with a gunshot hole in the plaster. A female officer took Lily's hand. She started walking her toward the police car. Lily looked back at the warehouse. 9, blood, sitting on the floor. Hawk gave a small nod, and Red and Ghost stood behind him like two mountains. She walked, she walked, she walked, and she knew something. For the first time in years, she was afraid of the next step. The men in the warehouse looked like family. The night was cold, but she was warm. The station lights buzzed like angry bees. Lily sat in a small room with her hands wrapped around a paper cup of water. The female officer, whose name was Officer Delgado, sat across from her with a tablet. The room smelled like coffee and old carpet. Lily told her everything. Every moment, every bruise, every hair pulled from her head, every night of screaming and silence. She told her about the scalding water and the way Marcus laughed while she cried. She told her about the recordings hidden in her phone. Officer Delgado wrote it all down. Her face stayed steady, but her eyes got soft at certain parts. The ones where Lily's voice broke. The ones where Lily had to stop wiping her eyes. When Lily finished, the officer thanked her. Then she walked Lily down the hallway to a small office where a tall man with gray hair sat behind a cluttered desk. His name was Commander Espinosa. Hawk stood against the wall, his leather jacket creaking when he moved. Red was in the hallway, his voice low as he talked to another officer. Commander Espinosa held up the phone in a plastic bag. "Miss Daniels," he said, "we have your recordings. We have the documents Ghost pulled from the apartment. We have a witness. All of this is good." Lily felt a tiny spark of hope. Then the commander sighed. It was a deep sound, like he was carrying something heavy. But the men who got this evidence broke into Marcus's apartment. No warrant. No legal permission. In court, a good lawyer could get all of it thrown out. Now, Lily buzzed. Evidence obtained illegally. It could be poisoned fruit. He set the phone down. "We can hold him for tonight. He'll have a preliminary hearing soon. But if we don't find legal evidence, he walks." Lily's breath bottomed out. She leaned hard on the doorframe. Everything she had done, every recording, all of that pain, and it might all be for nothing. The room grew quiet. "Heavy, can you get a warrant?" Hawk asked. His voice sounded low and steady. The commander shook his head. "We need a reason, a fresh one, something that doesn't rely on the broke proof, and his lawyer will be in front of a judge tomorrow morning." Lily couldn't reach her. Hawk put a hand on her shoulder and guided her out. They walked through the station, down the steps into the cold night air. The parking lot was empty except for a few patrol cars and a swing. Hawk stopped at Eyes Concrete. He looked up at the sky, and he looked at nothing for a moment. Then he looked at Lily. He took a deep, shuddering breath. Her name was Emily. Lily turned. She had never heard him say a name like that. She was 23. Brilliant, kind, she loved poetry and hated it when I left my boots in the middle of the floor. I remember her laugh. It was loud, and it could fill a whole house. He paused. He met Marcus at a charity event, I read her. She was a dart of bright light. I didn't even see the flash that he was coming. Then, his father's voice broke a little. One night she said she wanted to meet him. They had a fight. I thought she wanted to be alone. She went to his apartment. I went to bed. I never saw her again. The words hung in the air like smoke. He hurt her, Hawk said. They said it was an accident. But I knew. I always knew. It was choked, it was twisted, I knew. He looked down at his hands. I have been climbing for years. Years I found hope and no other joy. I've been finding him. And then I found out he was with you. So I watched from afar. I made sure you were still breathing. I never reached out. I just watched. Lily's heart felt raw and tender. I should have told you, Hawk said. I should have been honest from the start. I didn't want to scare you away. I didn't want you to run. But I put you in danger. He swallowed, but didn't. I am sorry, Lily. I'm sorry. You could have been just another casualty of my rage. The wind moved between them. Lily looked at him. She thought about the way he held her at the garage, the way he stepped in front of Marcus without thinking about his own skin, the way he chose to give his hands down and listen to her when she whispered and commanded. Twisted, that wasn't the face of revenge. That was the face of a man who was trying. And that mattered to Lily. Because she knew what it was like to carry a heavy past and to still choose to take a step forward. She reached out and squeezed his hand. You came for me, she said. You didn't let him hurt me. That is what matters. Hawk's eyes glistened, but he held it steady. Lily looked at the night and then back at the station. The recordings were flagged. They had no warrant. Marcus could walk. But she was not going to give up. She was not going back to that life. Not now. Not ever. We'll find another way, she said. Her voice was clear, bright, and certain. Hawk looked at her. A long. Then a slow nod came. We will. He opened his too. She stepped forward and his arms wrapped around her. It was warm. It was strong. It was the first time in years that Lily felt like someone was holding her up, not trying to pin her down. Hawk let go. He looked at her. All right, we do it right this time. The next morning arrived cold and gray. Lily sat in a small conference room with Hawk beside her. Across the table was a young woman named Sophia. She was the lawyer the court had assigned. Her suit was neat, and her hair was pulled back tight. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. Sophia spread papers across the table. Here is where we stand, she said. The assault charge is solid. Marcus poured boiling water on you. We have hospital records. We have your testimony. That alone can put him away for a while. Lily nodded. She held her breath. But the identity theft evidence, Sophia continued, that is a problem. The phone was taken without a warrant. The documents were taken illegally. A good lawyer will argue that the police coerced you, that the entire investigation was tainted. So Marcus walks away from the scam ring? Lily asked. Sophia sighed. He might. For now, the assault charge will stick, but without the financial crimes evidence, he goes to jail, and with his money and lawyers, he could be out in just a few years. The room fell quiet. The clock on the wall ticked like a heartbeat. Hawk leaned forward. His voice was low and steady. If his other victims come forward with legal testimony and legal evidence, does that change things? Sophia nodded slowly. New testimony is new proof. If multiple victims openly testify, each with their own stories and their own documents, that creates a pattern. A pattern can get a warrant. The old evidence can be re-accessed legally. Then we find the others, Hawk said. Lily turned to him. The documents, the photos. Marcus had records, names, transactions, money trails. Ghost went through everything, Hawk explained. He had a lot on his phone. But a lot of it was photos of the paper records, the pool of red, the bank accounts. But the pattern was clear. He was targeting seniors. Retirement accounts. Pensions. Which demos did he hit? Lily asked. Sophia scrolled through her tablet. Several residences around the city. Most of them are in the same area, a part of town with large retirement communities and a few senior centers. She looked at Hawk. The senior center on 3rd Avenue had a number of fraud reports. At least 6 residents had bank accounts drained, all in the last 18 months. Lily's heart beat a little quicker. 6 victims, 6 voices, 6 stories. If they could all speak, Marcus would not slip away. Hawk pushed his chair back. Then, that's where we go. An hour later, Hawk pulled his motorcycle up to the curb in front of the senior center. Lily dismounted and pulled her beanie straight. She was nervous. It had been a while since she had been around that many people. The building was warm and alive with the sound of conversations and the scent of fresh coffee. A large window by the front showed a group of seniors in comfortable chairs, books and cards in hand. It felt safe. Safe in a way that Lily hadn't felt in a long time. The young lady at the front, a smiling woman named Carla, listened to them. Hawk explained that they were looking into a fraud case. Carla's smile faded. She said she would bring out a few residents who had been affected. A few minutes later, 3 women walked over to a table by the window. Dorothy was the first. She was 75, with silvery hair cut in a neat bob and glasses on a chain around her neck. She moved with a quiet, steady grace. She spotted them and gave a small wave. Mabel was next. She was 80, short, round, with white hair too fierce to be called gray. She wore a red sweater and carried her purse like a weapon. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at Hawk and Lily. Ruth came last. She was 72, tall and thin, with a soft face and kind eyes. She walked slowly, but carried herself with calm. She sat down next to Dorothy and folded her hands. Carla introduced them. Then she nodded toward Hawk and Lily and gave an explanation of why they were there. Mabel crossed her arms. "You want us to testify? Against a man who took our money?" Hawk nodded. "Yes, he could come after, Elder," she said. There was a flash of fear in her eyes. Lily seen it. She knew that look. She had seen it in the mirror. Ruth put a hand on Mabel's arm. "They took our savings, Mabel, our pensions, everything we worked for. If we keep quiet out of fear, they win." Dorothy looked at Lily. "What's your interest in this, dear? You look too young to carry that kind of weight." Lily took a deep, shaky breath. "He hurt me. He hurt me for a long time. He has been doing it to everyone he thinks he can control." Dorothy's eyes went soft. She reached across the table and squeezed Lily's hand. "Then we will move forward, dear." Carla brought out a photo of the documents. It was the driver's license copy from the documents, a man's face with cold eyes. The 3 women looked at it. One by one, all recognition. "Yes," Dorothy said, "that's him. He called himself David." "David," Mabel spat. "He called himself David. He said he was from a charity that helps seniors." Ruth looked down at the photo. Her hands trembled. "He told me he would set up a trust fund for my grandchildren. He took my life's savings." Mabel's voice was hard. "He took $60,000 of my retirement money. He told me it was for after taxes." Lily felt a shift. A small spark. These 3 women were strong. They were angry. And they were not going away. "But I can still help," so I had to tell them that the case would not be easy. "What we have, it was taken without a warrant," Lily said. "The court says it would likely be thrown out. We need you to testify." "Will he go to prison?" Mabel asked. "That's what we want," Hawk said. "Make him pay for what he did." Dorothy nodded slowly. "Then we'll help. We'll all help." Mabel pointed a finger at him. But you better make sure this works, biker man. I didn't survive 80 years to lie down now. Hawk almost smiled. I understand. Ruth looked at Lily, her voice softer. What about you, dear? Are you safe? Lily felt her throat swing closed. I am with him. They are taking care of me. I am safe. Ruth squeezed her hand. Good. We'll stand with you. Lily looked around the table. Dorothy, Mabel, Ruth, 3 elderly women, all who had been robbed. All of them had been treated like they were weak. They were the opposite of weak. That cold morning, with the sunlight peeking through the window, Lily felt a small and new. It wasn't fear. It wasn't that hope. Something real. Justice wasn't going to come easy. But it was going to come. The 3 women sat in silence for a long moment. Mabel kept her arms crossed. Dorothy studied Lily with careful eyes. Ruth looked down at her folded hands. Lily felt their doubt like a cold draft in the room. She understood it. These women had been tricked by a man who smiled and lied. Why would they trust 2 strangers on a motorcycle? She pulled off her beanie. The bald patches were still there, small, pink, and raw. The new hair was growing in thin and soft, but the damage was plain to see. Lily felt her face grow hot. She almost put the beanie back on, but she didn't. Marcus did this to me, she said quietly. He poured boiling water on my head. He pulled out my hair by the handful. He told me I was worthless. He told me no one would ever believe me. The room went still. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. She reached across the table and took Lily's hand in both of hers. Her palms were warm and soft. "Oh, sweetheart," Ruth whispered. "You don't have to say any more." But Lily kept going. The words came out like water from a broken dam. I was with him for 2 years. He isolated me from my friends. He took my phone. He checked my messages. He told me what to wear, and what to eat, and when to speak. And when I did something wrong, he hurt me. She swallowed hard. I thought I deserved it. I thought if I just tried harder, he would love me again. But he never loved me. He only loved control. Mabel's arms slowly uncrossed. Her face changed. The hard lines softened just a little. "I know that feeling," Mabel said. "Not the burns, but the shame. When I found out David took my money, I didn't tell anyone for 3 weeks. I was so embarrassed. A grown woman, 80 years old, tricked by a smooth talker." Dorothy nodded. I felt the same way. He told me he was a financial advisor. He had business cards. He wore a nice suit. He called me every week to check on me. I thought he cared. "He did care," Ruth said softly. "He cared about your bank account." A sad laugh went around the table. It was the kind of laugh that hurt a little but also helped. Lily looked at each of them. Dorothy with her neat silver bob and her glasses on a chain. Mabel with her fierce white hair and her purse clutched like a shield. Ruth with her kind eyes and her gentle hands. These women had been robbed. They had been humiliated. They had been treated like they were foolish and weak. But they were still here. They were still fighting. Lily felt something warm bloom in her chest. It was not quite hope. It was something older and deeper. It felt like family. "I want you to know something," Lily said. "You are not weak. You are not foolish. The man who did this to you is a professional liar. He has been doing this for years. He hurt me too. And he hurt someone else, someone Hawk loved very much." Hawk shifted in his chair. His jaw tightened, but he did not speak. Dorothy looked at him. "Someone you loved?" Hawk nodded slowly. "My daughter. Emily, she was 22. She met Marcus at a bar. He charmed her. He isolated her. And one night, he hurt her so badly that she never woke up. The words hung in the air like smoke. Mabel's hand went to her chest. "Oh, honey," Ruth pressed her lips together. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Dorothy reached across the table and placed her hand on Hawk's arm. "I am so sorry," she said. "No parent should ever have to bury a child." Hawk looked down at the table. His voice was rough. "I spent years looking for him. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make him feel the same pain he gave us. But then I found Lily, and I realized that revenge would not bring Emily back, but stopping him might save someone else." Lily felt her eyes sting. She had never heard him say it like that before. So plain, so true. Mabel cleared her throat. "Well, if that man thinks he can take from us and walk away, he has another thing coming." Dorothy smiled. "Mabel, you sound like a warrior." "I am a warrior," Mabel said. "I just didn't know it until today." The mood in the room shifted. The heaviness did not disappear, but it changed shape. It became something they could carry together. "So," Dorothy said, folding her hands, "you need more evidence. Legal evidence. Something the court can use." Lily nodded. "We have the assault charge. That will stick, but the financial crimes, the identity theft, the money trails. We need proof that was gathered the right way." Ruth tapped her chin. "What about the people who work with him? He could not have done all of this alone." Hawk leaned forward. "That is what we are thinking. He must have local contacts, people who recruit victims, people who collect documents." Dorothy's eyes lit up. "Wait, I know something." Everyone turned to her. "At my retirement village, we have a community meeting every month. Residents come to talk about local issues. But last month, a man came. He said he was from a financial wellness program. He offered free consultations. He collected names and addresses." Mabel sat up straight. "That sounds familiar." Dorothy nodded. "I did not think much of it at the time. But now I remember. He had a clipboard. He was writing down everyone's information. He said it was for a raffle." Lily's heart beat faster. "Do you think he works for Marcus?" "I think it is worth finding out," Dorothy said. "The next meeting is tomorrow night. If we go, we might catch him in the act." Hawk looked at Lily. She looked back at him. The same thought passed between them. This was their chance. "We will be there," Hawk said. Dorothy smiled. "Good. I will introduce you as my niece and her friend. No one will question it." Mabel pointed a finger at Hawk. "And you. You keep your motorcycle outside. We do not need the whole village talking." Hawk almost smiled again. "Yes, ma'am." Ruth squeezed Lily's hand one more time. "We are with you, dear, all the way." Lily looked around the table. 3 grandmothers, 1 biker, and her. It was not the family she was born into, but it was the family she needed. And together, they were going to make Marcus pay. The next evening, the retirement village community hall smelled of coffee and old perfume. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Folding chairs creaked under the weight of the elderly residents who had come for the monthly meeting. Lily sat in the back row. She wore a loose cardigan and glasses she did not need. Beside her, Hawk had traded his leather vest for a plain flannel shirt. He still looked like a biker, but at least he looked like a biker who had made an effort. Dorothy sat near the front with her neighbor, a woman named June. June was the fake victim. She had a hidden camera in her brooch and a list of questions prepared. She was 76 years old, a retired librarian, and she was thrilled to be part of the plan. Just act natural, Dorothy had told her. Ask about the raffle. Mention your savings. Be friendly. June had nodded with the excitement of someone who had not had this much fun in years. The meeting started on time. A man in a gray suit stood at the podium. He talked about community safety and fraud prevention. He used words like vulnerability and financial literacy. Lily watched him closely. He was not the man Dorothy had described. The man from last month, Dorothy whispered to Mabel. He had a mustache. This one is clean-shaven. Mabel squinted. Maybe he shaved it off. He looks shorter, too. The meeting dragged on. People asked questions about mail scams and phone scams. The man in the gray suit answered them all with practiced ease. He was smooth. He was professional. He never once looked at June. Lily's stomach began to knot. Hawk leaned over. Something is off. I know, she whispered back. At the end of the meeting, the man in the gray suit opened the floor for one-on-one consultations. June stood up. She walked over to him with her brooch camera facing forward. Hello, young man, she said cheerfully. I heard about the financial wellness program. I would love to learn more. The man smiled. Of course, ma'am. But I am afraid I am not the right person for that. I am just filling in for my colleague tonight. He sends his regrets. Oh, June said, her smile faltering. Will he be here next month? I believe so, the man said. He had a family emergency, very sudden. Lily felt her blood run cold. A family emergency. A decoy. A clean-shaven stranger with no mustache. He had known. They left the hall in silence. The night air was cool and sharp. The parking lot lights cast long shadows across the pavement. Dorothy walked with her arms crossed. He was tipped off. Mabel huffed. We were so careful. We told no one. Hawk stopped beside his motorcycle. He ran a hand over his beard and stared at the ground. His jaw worked back and forth. We were careful, he said slowly. But Marcus is connected. He has eyes everywhere. Someone at the village must have told him about Dorothy asking questions. Dorothy's face went pale. I talked to the front desk manager. She is friendly. She always asks about my day. Maybe too friendly, Ruth said softly. They stood in the parking lot, defeated. The plan had been to catch an accomplice. Instead, they had walked into a room where Marcus had already been. It felt like he was toying with them, like he was laughing from somewhere far away. Lily wrapped her arms around herself. He is always one step ahead. Hawk looked at her. His eyes were tired but determined. He has money. He has contacts. He has been doing this for years. We cannot beat him with the same tricks. Then what do we do? Lily asked. Hawk was quiet for a long moment. The night hummed around them. Crickets, a distant car. The soft breathing of the three women waiting for an answer. We think bigger, he said finally. We think braver. We stop playing his game and make him play ours. Mabel nodded slowly. I like the sound of that. Ruth stepped forward. What do you have in mind? Hawk looked at Lily. We need to put him in a place where he cannot hide, a place where he will want to show off, where his ego will do the work for us. Lily thought about it. The pieces began to turn in her mind. A public forum, a stage, an audience. But they needed to be smart this time. No more small traps, no more decoys. They needed a plan so big, so bold, that Marcus would never see it coming. Hawk held out his hand. Come on, let us go home and talk. Lily took it. Together they walked back to the bikes, the three women following close behind. The night was not over. The fight was not done. It was only just beginning. The next morning came too soon. Lily was in the small office behind the clubhouse, folding napkins for the soup kitchen the bikers ran on weekends, when Sophia, the lawyer, called Hawk's phone. Hawk answered on the second ring. He listened. His face changed slowly, like a storm building over a quiet lake. "What do you mean suppressed?" he asked. Lily stopped folding and looked up. Hawk listened some more. Then he said, "Okay, thanks for telling us." He hung up and stood there, staring at the wall. "Hawk?" Lily's voice was small. He turned to face her. The lines around his eyes looked deeper than before. "The judge ruled against us. Everything from the break-in is out. Your recordings, too." They said it was illegally obtained evidence. Lily's hands went cold. "But Marcus burned my arm. He pulled out my hair. The recordings proved it." "I know," Hawk said. "But the lawyer says the phone was taken during an illegal entry. The court cannot use any of it. Not the assault footage. Not the identity theft files. None of it." Lily sat down hard on a folding chair. The napkin slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. "So he gets away with it?" "The only charge left is the assault, and even that is weak without the recordings." Hawk rubbed the back of his neck. "Sophia says he will probably post bail, and if he posts bail, he might run. He has money. He has connections. He could be in another country by tomorrow." Lily felt like the floor was falling away beneath her. She had given up everything to escape Marcus. Her home. Her job. Her phone, which held months of evidence. She had trusted Hawk and the club. She had started to believe that maybe, just maybe, justice could actually happen. Now the judge had said none of it mattered. "I don't believe this," she whispered. "I recorded everything. I was so careful." Hawk sat down across from her. "You were brave. Braver than anyone should have to be. The system is not fair, Lily. It was not fair to you, and it was not fair to Emily." Her name hung in the air like smoke. Lily looked at him. "So what do we do now?" Hawk opened his mouth. Closed it. For the first time since she had met him, he did not have an answer. The door opened. Red came in, wiping grease from his hands. "Hey, boss, everything okay?" Hawk shook his head. Red looked at Lily's face and understood. He sat down on a tool chest and crossed his arms. "Bad news?" "The worst kind," Hawk said. They sat in silence. The clubhouse was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of someone working on an engine in the garage. Lily felt the tears building. She tried to hold them back, but they came anyway, hot and fast and unstoppable. She had been so strong for so long. She had escaped. She had survived. She had let herself hope. Now that hope felt like a cruel joke. "I don't know what else to do," she said, her voice breaking. "I gave everything I had. I ran. I hid. I recorded. I trusted you. And it is still not enough. It will never be enough." She put her face in her hands and cried. Not the quiet kind of crying. The kind that comes from deep inside, where the pain has been stored for too long and the walls finally give way. Hawk moved closer. He put his arm around her shoulders, gentle and steady. He did not say sorry, or it will be okay. He just held her. A big, gruff man with a leather vest and a scarred face, holding a crying girl like she was the most precious thing in the world. "You are not alone," he said quietly. "I know it feels like the end. But we are still here. I am still here. And as long as I am breathing, Marcus does not get to win." Lily leaned into him. She did not know if she believed it, but she needed to hear it. Red sat quietly. He did not crack a joke. He just stayed, a solid presence, part of the family that had gathered around her. Then the sound came. Sirens. At first they were distant, just a faint wail carried by the wind. But they grew louder. Closer, Hawk's head snapped up. That's coming this way. Red stood. Multiple units. Sounds like fire trucks. Lily wiped her face. What? They moved to the front door of the clubhouse. Hawk threw it open. The garage was on fire. Flames licked up the sides of the building, orange and hungry, eating through the wooden frame. Smoke poured into the night sky in thick black columns. The fire trucks screeched to a stop in the parking lot, and firefighters jumped out, dragging hoses. Hawk ran. Lily ran after him. The heat hit her face like a wall. Red was yelling something behind her, but she could not hear the words. She could only see the flames and the smoke and the garage they had spent so many hours in, the garage that had become a safe place, burning to the ground. Hawk stood in front of the burning building, his fists clenched at his sides. His face was lit by the orange glow. He looked older. He looked broken. Lily reached him and grabbed his arm. Hawk, he did not look at her. He stared at the flames. He found us, Hawk said. His voice was barely a whisper. He found us, and he burned it all down. The night air turned thick and bitter. Smoke stung Lily's eyes, and the roar of flames drowned out every other sound. The clubhouse behind them stood dark and still. The garage, the heart of the club, was burning. Bikers spilled out from everywhere. Bear sprinted past Lily with a fire extinguisher. Sophia, the club's mother hen of the mechanics, was dragging a hose from a nearby shed. Red ran toward the big double doors at the front, where the flames were tallest. Red, get back. Hawk yelled. But Red was already moving. His voice came through the smoke, rough and urgent. The bike. The old Indian. It's still inside. The motorcycle. Lily remembered it. A vintage bike that Hawk and Red had been restoring for months. It was Red's pride, a piece of his past, the only thing he brought from his old life after the divorce. Not worth your life, Hawk shouted. But the smoke swallowed Red's answer. Heat pressed against Lily's skin. She stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. Sparks flew into the sky like angry stars. A firefighter was shouting something, but the noise drowned him out. Then a crash. Wood snapping. The sound grew near the front of the building. Lily saw him. Red stumbled out of the smoke, dragging the motorcycle with him. The bike was too heavy. He was too old. The flames lapped at the rafters above him, and a piece of burning timber fell and caught him on the shoulder. He fell. Hawk moved faster than Lily had ever seen him. He reached Red and grabbed him under the arms. Bear was there too, taking the motorcycle, pulling it clear. Together, they dragged Red across the gravel and laid him on the grass away from the fire. Red was coughing. His face was smeared with black smoke, and his arm was a mess. The skin was red and blistered, peeling where the flame had caught him. He was breathing too fast, and he tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough that sounded like rocks in his throat. That bike is heavy, Red wheezed. Stupid, Hawk snapped. But his hands were gentle as he felt Red's arm and checked his breathing. So stupid, Red, you could have died inside there. Couldn't let Doris burn that beauty. She's my legacy. Lily knelt beside him. The guilt hit her like a punch to the chest. Red was hurt because of her. Because Marcus had followed her here. Because of all the pain she had brought. Stay with me, she said, her voice shaking. The ambulance is coming. Just keep breathing. The fire trucks had arrived. Firefighters with hoses were attacking the flames now, their streams of water turning them to steam. It took almost an hour to put out the fire completely. The garage was still standing, but just barely. The roof was damaged. The walls were stained black. The tools and engines inside would never look the same again. Red was loaded onto a stretcher and taken to the hospital. Lily rode in the back of the ambulance with him, holding his hand. She had never been so scared in her entire life. She realized she had never been so scared in her entire life. It felt different to be strong in a fire, but here, in the quiet ambulance, watching Red's eyes flutter and close, she felt helpless. The hospital was cold and noisy. It smelled like cleaners. Lily sat in the waiting room, hugging her knees while Hawk paced. Bear stood in a corner. The other bikers had stayed behind to handle the garage damage. Finally, a doctor came out. He was a young man with glasses and a calm voice. "He is stable," he said. Lily crumbled. She had not even realized she was holding her breath until it escaped in one long, trembling sigh. "He has some smoke in his lungs," the doctor continued. "And second-degree burns on his arm. We have him on oxygen, and we'll keep him for at least a night. He will be fine in time." Hawk shook the bed. "Fine, thank you." Inside the room when they visited, Red was asleep. His arm looked a pale, bandaged mass. Lily stood by the foot of the bed and had to hold very still to keep the tears from falling. Red, who made jokes about everything, who called her a sunflower, who had risked his life for a motorcycle because it was his legacy. He looked old and small. Hawk stood behind Lily, and his voice was as tight as a drawn wire. "Marcus knows where we are. He did this." Lily turned. She saw fire in his eyes, the same fire that had just drowned by the fire trucks. She felt it in her own chest. "He burned down our home. He almost killed Red. That is not justice. That is just a crime." "He doesn't care about justice," Hawk said. "He cares about hurting me and humiliating me, and making sure no one can stop him." She felt a lump in her throat. "Hawk, I'm so sorry. I brought this to you. I brought this to all of you. This is my fault." Hawk reached his hand and touched her shoulder, a gentle touch. "Lily, you've ever hurt anyone. The only person who has ever hurt anyone is Marcus. You didn't cause the fire. He caused the fire." He paused. "I was the one who brought you here. And I would do it again. You hear me? I would do it again." Lily didn't have the time to answer because a man in uniform walked into the waiting room, a police officer with a calm face and a thick folder in his hand. "Harold Weaver?" the officer said, looking right at Hawk. Hawk turned. "That's me." The officer stepped closer. "I'm here to talk about the fire. An investigation is underway." Hawk crossed his arms. "It's arson. I know it is. I can help you get proof." The officer shook his head slowly. "That won't be necessary, sir. It's an active investigation." He looked at Hawk, regret flickering in his eyes. "We've received a tip and a witness statement. I'm going to need you to come with me. I have a warrant." He held up a piece of paper. Lily's blood went cold. "A warrant?" Hawk's voice was calm, but his jaw tightened. "We're charging you with arson. Someone reported you set this fire yourself to destroy evidence." Lily heard the ground through her. The room spun. "No," she whispered. "No, he was here the whole time. He was with me. He is innocent." The officer looked at her with something close to pity. "Ma'am, you can speak to our office. But right now I'm going to ask you to step back." Hawk looked at Lily. He didn't look scared. He looked tired. Not a tiredness of hours, but of years. He held her gaze and said quietly, "He planted it. He planted all of it." Lily saw him cuffed and led out of the hospital room. The door swung closed behind him. Red lay asleep on the bed, unaware of the news. Lily stood alone in the quiet hallway. Her legs felt weak. Her heart raged against her ribs. A noise escaped her. A word. A sob. No. 2 days passed like a fog that would not lift. The clubhouse smelled of smoke and ash. The garage was still standing. Barely. A tarp covered the hole in the roof. The tools were ruined. The bikes were charred. Everything the bikers had built over 20 years now looked like the bones of something that once lived. Lily spent those 2 days doing what she could. She brought coffee. She swept the floors. She helped Sophia sort through what could be saved and what had to be thrown away. It was small work, but it kept her hands busy and her mind quiet. But the quiet never lasted. On the second morning, she heard the engines before she saw the lights. 3 police cars rolled up the gravel drive, slow and deliberate. A detective got out first, a woman with gray hair and a hard face. Behind her, 2 officers in uniform. Hawk was standing by the big doors, drinking coffee from a chipped mug. He did not move when the cars stopped. He just watched them, calm and still, like he had been expecting this. Lily ran out from the kitchen. "What's happening?" The detective walked up to Hawk and pulled out a pair of handcuffs. "Harold Weaver, I have a warrant for your arrest. Charges of arson and insurance fraud." "No," Lily said. She stepped forward, her hands shaking. "No, you have the wrong person. He was with me when it happened. He was at the hospital. He never left my side." The detective looked at her with flat, patient eyes. "Ma'am, we have a witness." A man came forward and gave a statement. He says he saw Mr. Weaver pour accelerant on the garage floor and light it himself, 2 hours before the fire was reported. "What witness?" Lily demanded. "Who?" The detective did not answer. She turned to Hawk. "Turn around, please." Hawk set down his coffee mug on a nearby crate. His hands were steady as he turned and placed them behind his back. He looked at Lily over his shoulder, and his voice was calm. "It's me he wants, not you. Remember that." "Don't," Lily said, her voice cracking. "Don't talk like that. You didn't do this. We can prove you didn't." The cuffs clicked shut. The metal made a sound like a door closing. Sophia came out of the garage, wiping her hands on a rag. Red was still in the hospital. Bear stood in the shadows, silent. Ghost leaned against the wall, his face unreadable. "Hawk," Sophia said, her voice rough. "Say the word. We'll get the best lawyer in the state." Hawk smiled, a small and tired thing. "I know you will." He looked at Lily one last time. "Take care of them for me." Then they led him to the patrol car. He did not fight. He did not argue. He just walked, his boots crunching on the gravel, and ducked into the back seat. The door closed. The engine started. The car rolled away down the drive and disappeared around the bend. Lily stood in the yard and watched until the dust settled. The clubhouse was silent. No one spoke. Sophia stood frozen, her rag forgotten in her hand. Bear had turned away. Ghost was still as a statue. Lily felt the weight of everything crushing down on her chest. Hawk was gone because of her. The garage was ruined because of her. Red was in a hospital bed because of her. Every single hurt and loss in this place wore her name like a brand. She walked back inside and sat at the long table where they had shared so many meals. The wood was scarred and stained. She thought of her beanie, the one she still wore to hide her hair. She thought of the ride she took with Hawk on that first night, the wind in her face, the feeling of being safe for the first time in years. And now he was gone. In a cell. Because of her. Sophia came in and sat across from her. "It's not your fault, kid," Lily shook her head. "I keep hearing that. I want to believe it. But Red is in the hospital. Hawk is in jail. And I am standing in a burned building that used to be a home." She swallowed. "This is not a family. This is a ruin. And I brought the fire." Sophia started to speak, but Lily stood up. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry. I have to go." Sophia frowned. "Go where?" Lily did not answer. There was no answer. She had no money, no car, no phone, no home. The shelter was full. The streets were cold. But she could not stay here and watch the bikers lose more because of her. She walked to the small room she had been given. It was just a cot and a window. She packed her few belongings into a plastic bag, a change of clothes, a worn photograph of her mother, and the beanie that had become her armor. When she came back out, the clubhouse was quiet. Sophia was gone, maybe to the garage. Bear had disappeared. Lily slipped out the side door, trying to be silent. But Ghost was standing there, leaning against the wall. He did not look at her. He just spoke, his voice low and rough. "Where are you going?" She stopped. "I can't stay. I'll bring more trouble." Ghost turned his head. His eyes were dark and steady. "You leave, and that's what he loses." He said nothing else. He just turned and walked away. Lily stood in the cold air. The gravel bit at her feet through her thin shoes. She looked at the burned garage, the charred walls, the sagging roof. Then she turned and walked toward the road. The night was cold and heavy. The stars were hidden behind clouds. Lily walked along the edge of the road, her plastic bag swinging at her side. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she could not go back. Her shoes were thin. The gravel bit at her feet. A car passed, and its headlights blinded her for a moment. She stepped off the road and kept walking. After an hour, her legs ached. Her hands were numb. She found a small park with a bench and sat down. The wood was cold and damp. She pulled her beanie down over her ears and hugged her bag to her chest. She thought about Hawk. She thought about the way he had looked at her before the cuffs clicked shut. Steady, calm, like he was protecting her even then. She thought about Marcus. She thought about his smile, the one he wore when he was about to hurt her. She thought about the burned garage and Red's hospital bed. And she thought about the word family. She had wanted one so badly. She had found one, and now she had ruined it. The tears came. She did not try to stop them. She sat on that bench in the dark and let them fall. She woke to the sound of a car engine. The sun was barely up. The sky was gray and pink. A small sedan was parked at the curb. The door opened, and a figure stepped out. Dorothy, the old woman, wore a thick coat and a purple scarf. She walked over to the bench and looked down at Lily with soft, knowing eyes. "Child," she said gently. "What are you doing out here?" Lily blinked. Her face was stiff from crying. I was just resting." "You have been resting on a bench in the cold since who knows when." Dorothy sat down beside her, slow and careful. "Your hands are like ice. Your lips are blue. You are coming home with me. No arguments." Lily shook her head. "I can't. I'll bring trouble. I always bring trouble." Dorothy reached out and took Lily's hand. Her skin was warm and dry. I have lived 75 years. I have seen trouble. I have baked it pies and offered it tea. You are not trouble, Lily. You are a girl who needs a warm bed. Something in Lily broke open. The words spilled out before she could stop them. She told Dorothy about the fire, about Hawk's arrest, about Marcus and the recordings and the lawyer who said they were no good. She told her about Red and the burned garage and the family she had lost. Dorothy listened. She did not interrupt. When Lily finished, she squeezed her hand. You did not cause that fire, she said. A man who hurts people caused that fire. A man who wants to hurt you. Do you understand the difference? Lily wiped her face with her sleeve. It does not feel like a difference. Feelings are not always the truth, Dorothy said. Now come. We are going to my house. There is soup in the fridge and a bed in the spare room. Lily let herself be led to the car. Dorothy's house was small and warm. The walls were lined with bookshelves. A clock ticked softly in the kitchen. The smell of cinnamon hung in the air. Dorothy made tea. She gave Lily a blanket. She did not ask for more details. She just sat with her and let the quiet do its work. An hour later, the doorbell rang. Dorothy opened it to find Mabel and Ruth on the porch, both bundled in coats, both carrying bags. We heard, Mabel said. We heard about the fire, about Hawk, about everything. She pushed past Dorothy and marched into the living room. Where is she? Ruth followed, quieter. She set down her bag and sat across from Lily. We were so worried, dear. Dorothy closed the door and returned to the kitchen to make more tea. The three women gathered around Lily. Mabel sat with her arms crossed. Ruth held her cup with both hands. Dorothy stood by the window. Lily told the story again. It was harder this time, but she got through it. When she finished, Mabel slapped the arm of her chair. Old? We may be old. But we are not done yet. Ruth nodded. We have money. Not much. But enough. Dorothy turned from the window. Enough for what? For a lawyer, Mabel said. And for bail. That man is not going to rot in a cell for something he did not do. Not on my watch. Lily stared at her. You would do that? For me? For him? Mabel leaned forward. Her eyes were sharp and bright. Child, that man gave you a family. He gave us a reason to fight again. We are not going to let him fall. Ruth reached out and took Lily's hand. We have been scammed. We have been hurt. We have been told we are too old to matter. But we are not done. Not yet. Dorothy sat down. We will call a lawyer today. We will post his bail. And we will figure out the rest together. Lily looked at the three women. Their faces were lined and weathered. Their hands were wrinkled. But their eyes held a fire that would not go out. For the first time in days, she felt a small, fragile spark of hope. The next morning came slow and gray. The house smelled of coffee and toast. The three women sat at Dorothy's kitchen table with their purses open. Mabel pulled out a thick envelope. Her hands shook a little, but her jaw was set. This is my retirement money. It was meant for a new roof. But a roof can wait. Hawk cannot. Ruth set down a smaller envelope. This is from my husband's life insurance. I have been saving it for a rainy day. I think this is a storm. Dorothy placed a check on the table. Her handwriting was careful and neat. This is everything I have left after the scam. I want to use it for something that matters. Lily watched them. Her throat felt tight. You can't do this. This is all the money you have, child. Mabel said sharply. There are more important things than money. There is justice. There is family. You taught us that. Dorothy reached across the table and squeezed Lily's hand. Now, we need a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A good one. A fierce one. The name came to them. A respected friend had praised a young lawyer named Sophia. She was but a talent for stubbornness. They found her in a small office downtown. She was working late. Her desk was covered in files and coffee cups. She wore a sharp blazer and a tired smile. You are the women from the retirement community, she said. I heard about your case. Our case is not just about us anymore, Dorothy said. We need you to help free someone. A man who is not guilty of the crime they charged him with. Sophia listened. The women told her about Hawk, about the fire, about the planted evidence. Sophia did not interrupt. She just took notes. When they finished, she set down her pen. I will take the case. Mabel blinked. You will? We cannot pay much. I will in what you can. Cases like this are why I became a lawyer. This is not just about evidence. This is about a man who tried to do the right thing and got punished for it. I believe you. Lily felt a knot loosening in her chest. Thank you. Sophia nodded. We will go see him tomorrow morning. He can get out on bail today, but I will talk to the judge. I have a good argument. We have character witnesses. People who will vouch for him. Mabel pointed at herself. I will vouch for him. Nothing in my life is more certain. The visit room at the county jail was small and cold. A thick glass separated the oldest. There were markers. Sophia arranged for a conference call so they could use it. Hawk sat on the other side of the glass. He looked thinner. His hair was gray in the hard light, but his eyes were steady. When Sophia walked in with the 4 women, Hawk stood still. He looked puzzled, then confused. Then his lips moved. Lily, he said. What are you doing here? She sat down across from him. I am getting you out of here. He glanced at the women. All of you? Mabel crossed her arms. We came to get you. Yes, we pooled our money. We hired this smart lawyer. You are getting out. Hawk leaned back. He stared at the 3 elderly women in their coats and scarves. His face changed. It was not a word. It was a crack, a break, a breaking through of something that had been stone. You do not know me, he said slowly. You do not know what I have done. I know what you did for Lily, Dorothy said. That is enough. Neck/grid. We know you did not start that fire, not what they say, Ruth said. We know you are a good man. Hawk swallowed. His voice was low. I have spent years carrying my anger. I had a daughter. She was taken from me by a violent man. I have been hunting him ever since. I feel I failed. I thought I would never feel hope again. Dorothy reached toward the glass. You do not need to carry it alone anymore. Let us help you carry it. Hawk looked at her, then at Lily, then at the women. I will fight, he said slowly. I will fight for the truth. I will fight for all of you. I will not let you down. The judge heard Sophia's arguments. She brought in the women. They spoke. Simple words. True words. The judge listened. Sophia held up the bail. The judge, after seeing the character witnesses, set a reasonable amount. The women pooled their money again. The clerk counted it slowly. Hours later, the door opened. Hawk walked out into the gray afternoon. He looked up at the sky and closed his eyes. Lily ran to him. He wrapped his arms around her, and she felt his chest shake with a shallow breath. No words were spoken. The clubhouse, he said. It is a mess. I have to see it. They drove across town to the garage. The building was black with smoke. The windows were shattered. So was the door with planks. Inside, Bear sat on a upturned crate. Ghost stood by the workbench. Sophia the biker had her back to them, wiping some machinery with a rag. They turned when Hawk walked in. Red stood up. "Brother, I did not think you were coming back," Bear said. "I am back," Hawk said. "Not because I want to. Because these ladies wouldn't let me go. They set to work. They patched the holes with boards. They swept the glass. They wiped the soot." Lily found Push the broom. The women sat in old chairs they pulled from the corner and peeled oranges. When the garage was a little safer, they gathered around a tall table. Sophia, the lawyer, laid out the papers. "We need to clear your name," she said, "and we need to take down Marcus for good. We have no evidence that is legally admissible. He is slippery. We need a new plan." Hawk stood beside Lily, his hand on her shoulder. "We will find one," he said quietly. "We will find one, and we will do it together." The bikers nodded. The women crossed their arms. Lily looked at the faces around her, the smell of smoke and dust. She found something lifting in her heart. It was small, but it was there. It was hope. They worked late into the night. The garage smelled of smoke and sweat. On the tall table, the papers were spread out in messy piles. They were the documents from the first break-in at Marcus's penthouse. The evidence was not legal anymore. But it was still full of secrets. Lily sat closest to the table. She wore reading glasses that belonged to Dorothy. They were too big for her face, but she did not mind. She turned pages slowly. She studied every line. Then she stopped. "Wait," she said. Hawk looked up from the coffee cup in his hands. "What is it?" She pointed at a name in the ledger. "This company. It keeps coming up. In every report, every transfer, every receipt. I thought it was just a small business. But look here." She pulled out another paper. Her finger traced the words. "Blue Harbor Holdings. It is mentioned in every sale of personal information, every dollar that comes in from the stolen identities. It all goes to this one name." Sophia, the lawyer, leaned in. "What does that mean?" "It means he is not just stealing identities," Lily said slowly. "He is hiding the money, somewhere we cannot touch." Mabel squinted at the paper. "A bank account?" "A shell company," Lily said. "It is a company that only exists on paper. It has no office, no workers, just a name and a bank account in another country." Ruth set down her teacup. "So the money is gone? We cannot get it back?" Sophia shook her head. "Not legally. The court will not let us use these documents. They were taken without a warrant. Anything we found is inadmissible." "Then he wins," Bear said from the corner. "He takes their money. He hurts women. He walks free." Lily stared at the papers. Her mind was turning. She thought about Marcus. She thought about what she knew about him better than anyone. Marcus is greedy. Marcus is proud. He cannot help showing off. He cannot help talking about how smart he is. She looked up. "We cannot get the money. But we can get him." Hawk studied her. "What do you mean?" "The first case failed because the evidence was found in the dark," Lily said. "We need him to admit what he did in the light, in front of witnesses, in front of cameras." Dorothy set down her tea. "Keep talking, child." Lily pulled out her phone. She had been scrolling through the local news all morning. She held up the screen so everyone could see. "There is a public forum next week. It is about fraud prevention, about protecting seniors from scams. The mayor is speaking. The police chief is speaking. She paused. And Marcus is a guest speaker. Mabel's eyes went wide. The man who scams the elderly is teaching people how to protect their money? He is there as a business leader, Lily said. He claims he advises people on protecting their savings. The city considers him an expert. Ruth frowned. That is a nasty joke. Hawk crossed his arms. What are you thinking, Lily? Lily stood up. Her legs felt shaky, but her voice was steady. We go to the forum. We do not fight him. We let him talk. We ask him questions. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Questions? Questions that make him brag, Lily said. He cannot help himself. I have seen it. When people praise him, he talks, he tells stories, he shows off, he lies, and he starts to believe his own lies. She looked around the room, at the bikers, at the women, at the lawyer. Marcus loves attention. He loves being the smartest person in the room. If we put him in a room full of people who look up to him, he will talk too much. He will slip. Mabel laughed. It was a loud, dry laugh. I like this girl. Hawk nodded slowly. His face was thoughtful. It is risky. He knows you are against him. He will be on guard. Maybe, Lily said. But he does not know we have this. He does not know we followed the money. He thinks he is untouchable. The women exchanged looks. Dorothy spoke first. I will ask him a question. I am an elderly woman. He will not suspect me. And I, Mabel said. I have been waiting for a chance to look that snake in the eye. Ruth folded her hands in her lap. I will be there too. I am good at sitting quietly. Waiting for the right moment. Hawk looked at the group. Then he looked at Lily. Something changed in his eyes. It was not anger anymore. It was pride. Then we will do it, he said. We will go to that forum. We will wear our best clothes. We will sit in the front row. And we will watch Marcus talk his way into a trap. Sophia smiled. Now we need a plan. A good one. The group gathered around the table. The papers, the notes, the napkin with scribbles. They started planning. Lily felt the hope inside her grow a little more. It was not much, but it was enough. A week passed. The world outside did not change. The sun rose. The sun set. People went to work. People came home. But inside the clubhouse, something was changing. Hope was taking root. Hawk stood at the front of the room. He wore a black suit jacket that looked like it had not seen daylight in years. It was too tight around his shoulders, but he did not complain. He tugged at the collar once and then gave up. We go in quiet, he said. No leather. No patches. We look like ordinary people tonight. Bear nodded from the corner. He wore a plain gray shirt. His arms were crossed. He looked like a man going to a funeral, but he was ready. Sophia checked her watch. The forum starts at 7. We should leave in 30 minutes. Dorothy stood by the door. She wore a soft blue dress and a string of pearls. She looked like a grandmother going to church. In a way, she was. How do I look? She asked. Lily smiled. Like someone Marcus will want to impress. Mabel came in from the kitchen. She wore a bright red blazer and glasses on a chain. She looked sharp and ready for a fight. I have my questions memorized, she said. If that snake talks too long, I will cut him off myself. Ruth followed behind her. She wore a simple sweater and carried a small handbag. She looked calm, but her fingers were busy at her side, opening and closing. She was nervous too, but she hid it well. They gathered in the center of the room. Sophia pulled out a folded piece of paper. On it were the questions. They had practiced them all week. Each one was designed to feed Marcus's ego. Each one was designed to make him talk. "Let us go through them one more time," Sophia said. Dorothy stepped forward. "I will start. I will say, Mr. Cole, you are so successful. How did you build your business from the ground up?" Sophia nodded. "Good, and when he starts talking about his success, what do you do?" "I smile," Dorothy said. "I nod like I believe every word." "Then I will step in," Mabel said. "I will say, you must be so good at reading people. How do you spot someone who is trying to cheat you?" "That is the key question," Sophia said. "It flatters him. He will want to show off. He will tell a story about how he caught someone. Only the story he tells will really be about how he cheated someone." Ruth spoke softly. "And I will ask the last question. I will say, Miss Cole, with all your experience, what advice would you give to older people like us about keeping our money safe?" The room went quiet. That was the final question. If Marcus answered it honestly, he would be admitting nothing. But Marcus never answered honestly. He answered with stories, with boasts, with lies that sounded like truth. Lily held up her phone. "I will be in the second row. I will live stream the whole thing. The camera will be on him the entire time." Sophia looked at her. "Are you sure you want to be there? He will see you." "I know," Lily said, "but if he sees me, he will think I am just a broken girl trying to watch him. He will want to humiliate me. He will talk more. He will brag more. He will be so busy showing off that he will not notice the trap." Hawk moved closer. He put a heavy hand on her shoulder. His voice was low and gentle. "You do not have to do this, Lily. We can handle the live stream from the back row." She looked up at him. Her eyes were clear. "I have been hiding for 2 years. I am done hiding. If he sees me, let him see me. I want him to know that I am not afraid anymore." Hawk held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Then we will be right beside you, all of us." The group went quiet. They stood in a loose circle. Mabel reached out and took Ruth's hand. Dorothy placed her hand on top of theirs. Lily stepped into the circle. Then Sophia. Then Bear. Then Hawk. "We do this together," Dorothy said. "We stay calm. We stay quiet. We let him talk. And when he talks," Mabel added, "he will hang himself with his own words." Hawk gave a small smile. It was rare to see. "Head to the van. We leave in 10 minutes. They moved toward the door. Lily felt her heart beating fast. Her palms were damp. She wiped them on her jeans. She thought about everything that had led her here. The hot water on her head. The nights spent crying in silence. The kindness of strangers who became family. She took a deep breath. Then she stood up straight. Tonight, she would not be the victim. Tonight, she would be the one watching. Waiting, and when the moment came, she would be ready. The van engine rumbled to life outside. Hawk held the door open. Lily walked through it and climbed into the back. The 3 elderly women settled in beside her. Sophia sat up front. Bear took the wheel. The headlights cut through the dark as they pulled onto the road. No one spoke. But the silence felt strong. It felt like armor. They planned to sit in the front row. Right where Marcus could see them. Right where he would feel the need to perform. Right where all his lies would come spilling out into the light. The auditorium was warm and bright. Rows of folding chairs filled the room, and nearly every seat held a senior citizen. They wore cardigans and comfortable shoes. Some carried canes. Some wore hearing aids. They talked in soft voices and waited for the forum to begin. Lily stood in the second row. She adjusted her phone on a small stand she had hidden in her purse. The camera pointed toward the stage. She checked the angle twice. She checked the recording light 3 times. "It is on," she whispered to Dorothy. Dorothy patted her arm. "Good. Now sit down and look like a nice young woman who is interested in learning about money." Lily sat. Mabel sat on her left. Ruth sat on her right. Dorothy took the seat next to Mabel. They looked like any other group of women attending a community event. No one would guess what they were planning. The panel's table sat on the stage. 5 chairs. 5 name cards, water glasses. A small microphone at each seat. The lights above the stage were bright and white. At 7 o'clock, a man in a gray suit walked to the microphone. He introduced himself as the host of the Community Safety Series. He talked about the importance of protecting personal information. The audience nodded politely. Then, Marcus Cole walked onto the stage. He looked exactly as Lily remembered. Handsome, confident, dressed in an expensive navy suit that fit him perfectly. His hair was styled. His smile was wide and warm. He waved to the crowd like a politician. Lily's stomach tightened. Her hands turned cold. She wanted to look away, but she forced herself to watch. Marcus took his seat at the center of the panel. He adjusted his microphone. He leaned forward with practiced ease. He looked like a man who belonged on that stage. The host introduced him. "Mr. Cole has spent years in financial services. He has seen every type of scam there is. We are lucky to have him here tonight to share his knowledge." The audience applauded. Marcus smiled and nodded. He looked humble. He looked kind. He looked like someone you could trust. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here with all of you tonight." His voice was smooth. Warm, it wrapped around the room like a comfortable blanket. Lily remembered that voice. She remembered how it could soften and then change, how it could turn cold in an instant. Marcus began to speak about scams. He talked about phone calls from fake banks. He talked about emails that looked real but were not. He talked about people who pretended to be grandchildren in trouble. "These criminals are clever," he said. "They study you. They learn your routines. They know how to make you feel afraid. And when you feel afraid, you make mistakes." The audience leaned in. They hung on his words. He was good at this. He made them feel safe. He made them feel smart. He made them feel like he was on their side. Mabel leaned close to Lily. Her voice was barely a whisper. He practiced this speech. He knows exactly what to say. Lily nodded. She kept her eyes on her phone. The live stream was still running. The red dot blinked steadily. Marcus was being recorded. He did not know it. The panel continued. Other speakers talked about passwords and bank statements and shredding old documents. They were helpful. They were honest. But everyone in the room was waiting for Marcus to speak again. And Marcus knew it. He took every chance to talk. He told stories about clients he had helped. He told stories about criminals he had stopped. He described himself as a guardian for older people. A protector. A friend. The audience trusted him. Lily watched him. She watched the way he smiled, the way he tilted his head when he made a point, the way he looked at the crowd as if he loved every single person in the room. She had seen that look before. She had believed it too, once. Now, she knew the truth. Behind that smile was a man who had hurt her, who had hurt others, who had stolen from the very people he was now pretending to help. She kept her face calm. She kept her hands still. She waited. The host checked his watch. "We have time for some questions from the audience. Please raise your hand if you have something to ask." A dozen hands went up. Lily's heart beat faster. Dorothy raised her hand. She held it high. She smiled like an eager grandmother. The host pointed to her. "Yes, ma'am, go ahead." Dorothy stood. Her voice was sweet and soft. "Mr. Cole, I just want to say, you are so successful. It is wonderful to hear you speak. How did you build your business from the ground up?" Marcus smiled. He leaned into his microphone. "What a lovely question. Thank you so much for asking." He paused. He looked around the room. He was in his element. "Well, let me tell you," he said. "I started with nothing but a dream and a willingness to work harder than anyone else." The audience smiled. They were engaged. They were listening. Dorothy sat back down and folded her hands in her lap. Lily watched her phone. The red dot kept blinking. The words spilled out of Marcus's mouth. Every word was being saved. Every word was evidence. Mabel raised her hand next. She waved it like a schoolgirl who was eager to please. The host pointed to her, and she rose slowly, gripping her cane. "Mr. Cole, I have to say, you are the smartest man I have ever heard speak." She tilted her head and smiled sweetly. "I bet no one has ever tricked you, not even once." Marcus laughed. He loved this. He loved being admired. "Well, ma'am, I appreciate that," he said. "And you are right, I have seen every trick in the book. These scammers, they think they are clever. But they are not clever enough for me." The audience chuckled. They saw a confident expert. Lily saw a snake. Mabel sat down. Ruth raised her hand. The host pointed to her, and Ruth stood. Her voice was gentle, like honey. "Mr. Cole, what is the most common mistake people make? I mean, if someone wanted to keep their money safe, what would you tell them?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. He crossed his legs. He was comfortable now. He was enjoying himself. "The biggest mistake," he said slowly, "is trusting people who seem nice." He smiled at the crowd. People think that if someone is polite, they must be honest. They think that if someone dresses well, they must be good. That is how scammers get in. They use your own kindness against you. The audience nodded. They were learning. They were impressed. Dorothy raised her hand again. The host smiled and pointed to her. "One more question, if you do not mind," Dorothy said. "I am just so curious. How do you catch these scammers? You make it sound so easy." Marcus laughed again. His voice grew louder. His smile grew wider. "Because it is easy," he said. "These people, they are not smart. They think they are clever because they can fool a sweet old lady out of her savings, but really, they are just bullies with good manners." He paused. He looked at the audience. He saw their faces. They were hanging on his every word. Lily watched her phone. The red dot blinked. The live stream was still running. Marcus was still talking. "Let me tell you a story," Marcus said. He leaned forward. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. There was a man who ran a scam, a really good one. He would call elderly women and pretend to be their grandson. He would say he was in jail in another country and needed bail money. He knew their names. He knew their birthdays. He knew their addresses. He made them feel loved. The audience was silent. They were captivated. Those women, Marcus continued, They would cry with relief when they heard his voice. They would run to the bank and wire money without asking a single question. They trusted him completely. And why? Because he made them feel important. He made them feel needed. That is the trick. You make people feel good, and they will give you anything you want. The audience shifted in their seats. Something was wrong. They could feel it, but they were not sure what. Mabel raised her hand. She did not wait for the host. She spoke directly to Marcus. "Mr. Cole, that story sounds very specific, almost like you were the one running it." The room went quiet. Marcus's smile flickered. Just for a second. Then it came back. "Excuse me?" he said. "I am just saying," Mabel said sweetly. "You described the scam so well. You must have studied it very closely, almost like you practiced it." Marcus laughed. But the laugh was different now. It was shorter. "Harder, I have studied every scam there is," he said. "That is my job. I know how these criminals think because I have spent years chasing them." Dorothy stood up. Her voice was still sweet, but it had an edge now. "You know, Mr. Cole, I wonder about something. The women in that story. The ones who lost their savings. What happened to their money? Where did it go?" Marcus paused. His jaw tightened. His eyes flickered around the room. "Offshore accounts, I suppose," he said. "That is what these criminals do. They hide the money where no one can find it." Ruth stood up. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "And how would a criminal move that much money?" she asked. "Would they use shell companies? Would they have a partner who handled the banking?" Marcus's smile disappeared. He looked at the three women. Then he looked at the audience. They were staring at him. No one was smiling anymore. "I do not know," he said. "I am not a criminal. I am just telling you how they operate." Mabel shook her head. "No, you are not telling us. You are showing us. You know how the scam works because you are the scam." The audience gasped. Marcus's face turned red. He stood up from his chair. "This is ridiculous," he said. "I am leaving." But he did not leave, because the police were already walking down the aisle. They came from the back of the auditorium, 2 officers in uniform. They moved quickly. They moved quietly. The crowd parted for them like water. Marcus saw them. His eyes went wide. He looked at the doors. The exits were covered. There was nowhere to run. "Marcus Cole," one officer said, "you are under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and assault." Lily stood up. She held her phone high. The live stream was still running. The red dot was still blinking. "I recorded everything," she said. Her voice was clear and steady. "The whole world just watched you confess." Marcus stared at her. His face was pale now. His hands were shaking. "Lily," he said. "Lily, please, we can talk about this." She shook her head. "No more talking. You talk too much. And now everyone knows who you really are." The officers handcuffed him. They read him his rights. He did not fight. He just stood there, hollow and broken, as the crowd began to cheer. The elderly women rose from their seats. They clapped. They shouted. They waved their canes in the air. They hugged each other and laughed and cried. They were free. Mabel grabbed Lily's hand. Ruth wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Dorothy kissed her cheek. "We did it," Dorothy whispered. "We actually did it." Lily smiled. She felt tears on her face. She did not wipe them away. She let them fall. They spilled out of the auditorium into the cool night air. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead. Lily pressed the button on her phone. The red dot went dark. The live stream was over. For a moment, nobody spoke. The silence felt strange after all that noise. Then Ruth let out a sob. It was not a sad sound. It was a release. Like air leaving a balloon that had been held tight for too long. Mabel wrapped her arms around Ruth. She was crying too. Her tears rolled down her wrinkled cheeks and fell onto her coat. She did not bother wiping them away. Dorothy laughed through her tears. She held onto both of them, pulling them into a group hug that was equal parts joy, gas, and relief. "Oh, my stars," Dorothy whispered. "Oh, my stars, we did it." Lily stood apart from them for a moment. She felt frozen. Her hands were shaking. She looked down at her phone. The screen was dark now. But she knew what it held. His voice was so well known that her own was shaky. But she had to say it. "He is done. It is over." Hawk stepped out of the shadows. He had been waiting there the whole time, watching the doors, making sure she was safe. He walked toward her with long, quick strides, and without a word he pulled her into his arms. It was not a small hug. It was the kind of hug that said, "You are okay now. You are home now. I will never let anyone hurt you again." Lily buried her face in his leather jacket. She smelled tobacco, gasoline, and coffee. It smelled safe. It smelled like family. "Thank you," she whispered. Hawk held her tighter. He did not say anything. He did not need to. The news reporters were already running toward them. Cameras flashed. Microphones were pushed forward. A woman with a bright smile held a microphone out to Lily. "Excuse me, you are the one who posted the live stream. Can you tell us what happened in there?" Lily turned. Her eyes were red. Her face was wet. But she stood tall. She stepped forward, holding her phone like a badge of honor. "His name is Marcus Cole," she said. "And for 2 years he hurt me. He hurt other women too. And he has been stealing from the elderly. From sweet people like these 3 ladies you see right here." She pointed to Dorothy, Mabel, and Ruth. The reporters turned. The cameras turned. "Those women trusted him," Lily said, "and he took everything from them. I hope he goes to prison for a very long time." Hawk stood next to her. He did not speak. He just stood there, like a wall. He was a wall between Lily and the rest of the world. He was going to stay that wall as long as she needed him to. The questions kept coming. Lily answered a few. Then, she noticed her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Sophia. It was a link to the video already trending. Millions of views. Comments were pouring in, from people who had been scammed, people who knew Marcus, people who were just grateful that justice was finally happening. Hawk put her hands on her shoulders and guided her away from the crowd. The 3 women followed, arms around each other. "Let's go home," he said. An hour later, the clubhouse was warm and full. The long wooden tables were covered with food. There was a pot of chili, a pot of beans, and a basket of cornbread that Ruth had managed to bake in the clubhouse kitchen. Red stood near the door. His arm was in a sling. His face had a few bruises. But he was smiling. He was smiling wider than anyone. Lily walked over with a plate of food. She handed it to him. Her eyes fell on the passenger. "Thank you for coming back. I know you were hurt because of me." Red shook his head. "Used to be, someone had to stand up for the little guys. I am just glad I am around to see it happen." Lily laughed. It was a small, warm sound. While the clubhouse filled with laughter and music, she walked to the window. The moon was high. The street was quiet. She thought about the last 2 years. She thought about the nights she spent in Marcus's penthouse, pretending to like him so he would not hurt her. Then, she thought about now. Hawk was around with her. He was arguing with Mabel. They were arguing about whether the mustard in the clubhouse was too spicy. Mabel, of course, won, so it was a welcome warmth after a long time. She looked around the room. There were the bikers and old tractors. There were two grandmothers laughing at the sofa while Ruth sang a song from her church days. There was Bear asleep on the floor. There was Sophia teaching a group of skeptical men how to cook with rosemary. And there was Hawk, watching her from across the room. He caught her eye and raised a glass to her. She raised her own. For the first time in a very long time, Lily felt safe. Marcus was in jail. The district attorney had confirmed that her recording was legal evidence. The girls were together. She belonged here. She belonged to them. The days that followed were strange. Strange because Lily kept expecting the other shoe to drop. She kept expecting a knock on the door, a bad call, a sudden twist of bad news. But the news was good. Sophia worked day and night. She called the district attorney's office until they knew her name. She sent documents with red flags in the margins. She argued. She pushed, and she refused to let the case gather dust. On the third day, the arson charges against Hawk were dropped. The detective in charge called him personally. Lily stood beside him in the office, not close enough to read the letter, but close enough to see the way his shoulders changed. He had been carrying the weight of those charges for weeks. Now the weight simply lifted. He stood taller. His voice on the call was calm, but his hand trembled slightly. She had never seen him tremble before. Marcus hired a new lawyer. A sharp man in expensive suits. He tried everything. He told the press that the live stream had been edited. He said the forum was a trap. He called it cruel action from an angry woman. But the evidence would not be denied. The investigators found the offshore account. It was linked to Marcus directly. His name was on the paperwork. His signature was on the forms. Tracing the money was like following a trail of breadcrumbs, and every crumb led back to him. Within a week, the charges were announced. Identity theft. Fraud. Assault. They added more charges every day, it seemed. News reporters camped outside the courthouse. The story had grown too big to ignore. The prosecutor held a press conference on Thursday. The room was packed with cameras and microphones and people standing shoulder to shoulder. Lily stood in the back with Hawk. Dorothy, Mabel, and Ruth were in the seats near the front. They wore matching blue dresses, their modest act of rebellion. The prosecutor walked to the microphone and looked over his glasses at the crowd. Marcus Cole will face justice for his crimes, he began. We have confirmed his involvement in a fraudulent ring that targeted elderly citizens. We have racked up accounts in his name. We have witnessed him admitting to his crimes on camera. Cameras flashed. The room hummed with energy. Today, we are also clearing Harold Mason of all charges related to the arson. The old weight shifted again. Lily saw him blink. He did not move. He did not jump, or cheer, or hug her. He just nodded Indian style, slowly, like he was finally being told that he could go home. And that he had to make sure it was real. One of the reporters raised a hand. Mr. Mason, do you have any comment? Hawk looked at Lily. She nodded. She knew it was his moment. But she hoped he would share it. The press turned. Cameras turned. He walked up to the microphone, leather jacket, boots, silver gray in his beard. He looked behind him, and there stood Lily, and the three women came up to stand beside him. Hawk found a small crowd. Not on the stage. In his heart, Hawk gripped the sides of the podium. He looked at all the cameras. He looked at the woman who held his arm and found the jewelry. "I lost my way a long time ago," he said. His voice was low and rough. "I did not think I would ever find it again. I spent years being mad about the past. I was angry, and I blamed myself. I blamed everyone." He paused. He looked down at Lily. "But these brave souls toward the end showed me the way. They didn't give up on me. They showed me that I could be something else. Something better." Dorothy wiped her eyes. Mabel nodded firmly and pretending she didn't need to wipe her eyes too. Ruth held her hand. "Marcus Cole took my daughter from me," he said, "and I spent many nights dreaming of revenge. Going through it, not fixing me, not bringing her back. Only hurting me more." His eyes found Lily again. "But a girl taught me a different way. She showed me what courage looks like. She didn't hide from pain. She faced the world alone. If she can do that, then I can put down my anger and pick up something else." Hope. The room was quiet. Then someone clapped. Then someone else. Then the applause grew and rolled through the room like thunder. His eyes watered. Lily stood beside him. He pulled her into a half-hug and held her close. In his ear he whispered, "We made it. We really made it." He did not answer. He didn't need to. The club members, Red, Bear, Sophia, all gathered at the back. Their cheers filled the room. Their cheers filled a park of Lily. The press conference ended. A man came up and shook Hawk's hand. Another offered a card. A reporter asked one more question. Hawk turned her down. Family, and to him, walked out of the building into the bright afternoon sun. Then the three friends and the other odds, and the noise of many voices all through the neighborhood. Not for them. They were young. But the world was wide now. She set her hand on Hawk's arm. He placed his over hers. "We should go celebrate," he said. "I know where to start," she said, smiling. "There's a diner on the edge of town that makes the best pie you've ever tasted." The clubhouse smelled like coffee and motor oil. It was a good smell. It meant home. It meant people who cared. Lily sat on the worn leather couch, watching Red and Bear argue about a carburetor. Their voices bounced off the concrete walls. Ghost sat in the corner, silent as always, polishing a chrome fender. The afternoon light came through the high windows and made dust motes dance in the air. Hawk walked over and stood in front of her. He had a look on his face she had never seen before. It was soft, almost nervous. "Lily," he said, "can we talk? Just the two of us." She stood up. Her heart beat a little faster. Old habits. Bad news always came in quiet moments. But she looked at his eyes and saw no storm there. Only something gentle. They walked to the back of the garage. There was a small office with a desk and 2 chairs. A picture of a motorcycle hung on the wall. Hawk closed the door behind them. He sat down across from her. He took off his leather vest and hung it on the back of his chair. Then he folded his hands on the desk. He looked at them for a long moment. "I need to tell you something," he said. Lily nodded. She waited. "My daughter Emily," he began. His voice was low. "She had your eyes. Not the color. The light in them. She looked at the world like it was full of possibility. Even when the world was not kind to her." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. "I spent years thinking about her. Missing her. Hating the man who took her from me." He paused. "I thought that was the only way to honor her. To stay angry. To stay broken. He looked up at Lily. But then you came into my life. You showed up at that diner, shaking and scared, with your head under a beanie and your heart in pieces. And you still had hope. You still believed in people. You trusted a group of rough bikers with your life. Lily blinked. Tears gathered in her eyes. Helping you, he said, has helped me. I did not know I could feel whole again. I did not know I could put down the anger and pick up something better. But you showed me I could. He stood up. He walked around the desk and knelt in front of her chair. He took her hands in his. They were rough and calloused. They were warm. Lily, he said, I am not your father. I know that. But I would be honored if you would let me be something close. I would be honored if you would be my honorary daughter. The tears spilled over. She did not try to stop them. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Hawk, yes. He pulled her into a hug. She buried her face in his shoulder. He smelled like leather and soap. He held her like she was precious, like she was family. I have a real name, you know, he said softly. Harold, but you can keep calling me Hawk. Everyone does. She laughed through her tears. I like Hawk. It fits you. He laughed too. It was a deep, rumbling sound. She had never heard him laugh like that before. It was free. It was light. They sat there for a long time. The world outside the office did not matter. The past did not matter. Only this moment. Only this new family. When they walked back out into the garage, the others were waiting. Red raised an eyebrow. Bear crossed her arms. Even Ghost looked up from his polishing. Well? Red asked. What was that about? Hawk put his hand on Lily's shoulder. I asked her to be my honorary daughter. She said yes. The garage erupted. Red let out a whoop that bounced off the walls. Bear clapped her hands. Ghost nodded once, a small smile on his face. Sophia came over and hugged Lily tight. This calls for a celebration, Red said. I am making my famous chili. Your chili is not famous, Bear said. It is barely edible. It is famous for being barely edible, Red shot back. That is still famous. Everyone laughed. Lily felt something warm spread through her chest. It was belonging. It was love. Later that evening, the three grandmothers arrived. Dorothy brought a casserole. Mabel brought a bottle of sweet tea. Ruth brought a plate of cookies. They had become regulars at the clubhouse. The bikers had become their honorary grandsons. They all sat around the long table. The chili was indeed barely edible, but nobody complained. The cookies disappeared fast. Hawk stood up. He tapped his glass with a spoon. I have an idea, he said. Something I have been thinking about for a while. The room went quiet. We have all been through hard times, he said. We have all needed a second chance. Lily needed one. I needed one. Dorothy, Mabel, Ruth, you needed one after what Marcus did to you. The women nodded. I want to start a charity, he said. I want to call it Second Chances. It will help women who are running from abuse. It will help elderly people who have been scammed. It will give them what we all found here. A safe place. A family. Lily's eyes widened. She looked at him. He looked back at her. What do you think? He asked. She stood up. She walked over to him. She hugged him. I think it is perfect, she said. Red raised his hand. I am in. I can fix anything. I can teach people how to fix things too. Bear nodded. I can teach self-defense. I can teach women how to protect themselves. Ghost tapped the table. It was his way of saying yes. Sophia smiled. I can do the legal work. I can help people navigate the system. Dorothy stood up. I can organize. I can run the office. I can answer phones and make tea. Mabel stood up. I can keep the books. I was a bookkeeper for 30 years. Nobody scams my numbers. Ruth stood up. I can take care of people. I can bandage wounds and listen to hearts. Hawk looked around the room. His eyes were wet. His voice was rough. Then we have a family business, he said. Lily looked at the faces around her, the bikers with their rough hands and soft hearts, the grandmothers with their sharp minds and warm smiles, the lawyer with her fire and her hope. She had walked into this clubhouse with nothing. No home, no family, no future. Now she had everything. She looked at Hawk. He smiled at her. She smiled back. Second chances. It was a good name. It was a good mission. And it was just the beginning. A month passed. The little storefront on Juniper Street got a fresh coat of blue paint. Red fixed the squeaky front door. Bear installed new lights. Ghost hung the sign himself. It was simple and bold. Second chances. The morning of the grand opening was bright and warm. Lily stood on the sidewalk, looking at the building. She wore a clean yellow sundress. Her hair was beginning to grow back. It came in soft and fine, after the scorched porcelain that had once been Marcus's lasting mark upon her skull. She ran a hand over the short fuzz. For the first time, she did not hide it under a beanie. Hawk walked up beside her. He wore his weathered jacket, clean with the morning light making it look almost new. He held a pair of oversized scissors in one hand. "You ready?" he asked. Lily looked at the crowd. The whole club was there. Red was laughing, hand shaking the hand of a young woman in a worn coat. Bear stood with her arms crossed, keeping a watchful eye. Ghost stood near the door, holding it open for an elderly woman with a walker. Mabel was directing traffic in the park that had sprung up outside the door. She pointed to the line of chairs. Sophia was there too in her lawyer's suit, holding a clipboard. She raised a thumbs up. Lily turned to Hawk. She took a breath. "Yes," she said. "I am ready." The ribbon was stretched across the doorway. It was red and shiny. Hawk held one side. Lily held the other. Dorothy counted down from 3. 3, 2, 1. The scissors came down in a clean slice. The ribbon dropped. The crowd clapped. A few people honked their horns from the street. Red let out another whoop that bounced off the glass. Hawk stepped aside. He motioned toward the small podium that Dorothy had set up near the door. It was a simple plywood stand, but it was steady. "It's yours," he said quietly. Lily walked to the podium. She looked out at the faces. Some were soft, some wore scars, some were barrel-chested, some were of a certain age, all came of the same family. She took a deep breath. "Hi," her voice wavered. She cleared her throat. "Hi, I'm Lily and I just turned 19. I don't have a lot of wisdom yet, but I have something I know for real." She paused. She looked at Hawk. He nodded. "Hope is not a big thing. It's not a fireworks. It's not a grand plan. It's a small thing. It's a cup of warm soup on a long, cold night. It's a hand stretched out when you think no one else sees you. It's a group of big, scary bikers who turn out to have the softest hearts I've ever known." She smiled. A few people laughed. Someone once told me I could not trust anyone. But I was wrong. I found trust in the last place I expected. And I found family. And now, I'm standing here, with my hair growing back and my heart healing, and I want to give that same hope to other people. She looked around at the faces looking at her. "This place is for you. It's for the woman who has to escape in the middle of the night. It's for the man who lost everything to a liar. It's for anyone who just needs a second chance. She stepped back from the podium. The applause was loud and honest. The first person to come through the door was a young woman. She was about Lily's age. She had dark circles under her eyes and a bruise on her left cheek. She held a small duffel bag. She looked over at the crowd, then stepped inside like she coming home after a long war. "Are you Lily?" she asked. "I am." Lily walked over to her. "What's your name?" "Anna." The name was delivered in the hush of a hurried pulse. "I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anyone." Lily put a hand on her arm. She felt the woman's tremble, which was mirrored in the trembling of her own heart. "You do now," she said. "Come in." She led Anna to a small table by the wall. She poured her a cup of tea. She sat down across from her. "Tell me what you need," Lily said. "We'll figure the rest out together." Anna talked. Her story came out in fits and starts. A mean man, a locked door, a final night that she had charged in panic. Lily listened. She did not interrupt. She just nodded, and she felt the world of her face begin to slacken. "Now you're safe," Lily said. "Now you can begin again." Anna looked at her. "You believe that? You really believe that?" Lily smiled. "I know it. I've used it." Outside, Hawk looked through the window. He saw Lily sitting with Anna. He saw her leaning in, listening, caring. His chest swelled. He turned around. An hour later, an elderly man stood at the door. He wore a thin coat and walked with a cane. He clutched a piece of paper in his hand. "I saw the sign," he said. "I fell for a scam. I lost a lifetime savings. I don't know where to turn." Hawk walked over to him. He put a big hand on his shoulder. "This is the right place," he said. "Come in. Let's get you some soup, and then we'll talk about your plans." The man's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. I didn't know who else to tell." Hawk walked him to the table. He called Ruth over. Ruth came quickly. She sat with the man. She talked to him in lows and easy tones. She opened a notebook, ready to catch every word. Outside, a crowd was gathering. It was not only friends. It was the neighborhood spending their rejoice stand came because they had heard what a biker pack and an old grandmother had done. They came to be part of it. The musicians set up. A fielder half-saw. A drummer tapped, building a gen the light. Cherry overcame, the smell of barbecue drifting from Red's smoker in the parking lot. Flags and string lights were strung between poles. Red came over to Lily, and she came out of the door. "Food is hot," he said. "Music is playing. The place is full already." Lily looked up at the storefront. The sign glinted, lit by its own small day in the afternoon sun. She saw Anna talking to Sophia. She saw the old man laughing at something Ruth had said. She saw Dorothy waving from the doorway like a conductor. She saw Hawk looking at her with pride in his eyes. The first day of Second Chances was not a grand ending. It was a new beginning. And for all of them, it was exactly where they were meant to be. The afternoon sun sat low and golden over the clubhouse. It was a lazy Sunday, the kind where time seemed to slow down. Smoke curled up from the big grill in the yard. Red stood behind it, flipping burgers and waving at people with a pair of tongs like a conductor leading an orchestra. The parking lot was full of bikes. They gleamed in the sun, each one polished and loved. Some people sat on the porch. Others stood in small groups, talking and laughing. A radio played old rock songs, and someone had hooked up a small speaker that made the music float through the warm air. Lily sat on the steps of the clubhouse, a plate of food balanced on her knees. She watched the scene with a quiet smile. Her hair had grown longer now. It curled softly around her ears, and she no longer thought about it. She just let it be. Across the yard, Hawk stood next to a young woman. Her name was Jess. She had come to Second Chances 2 weeks ago, and she had been shy at first, but now she was staring at one of the bikes with wide eyes and a nervous grin. "All right," Hawk said. His voice was calm and steady. "First thing you do is get comfortable. A bike is not a toy. You respect it, and it will respect you." Jess nodded. She climbed onto the seat. Her hands gripped the handlebars a little too tight. Hawk laughed softly. "Loosen up. You're holding on like it's going to run off without you." "I'm scared," Jess said. "That's good," Hawk said. "Fear keeps you safe. But you don't let it run you. You breathe. You feel the machine under you. And you take it slow." Lily watched as Hawk walked around the bike. He pointed at different parts and explained each one. He showed her where the brakes were. He showed her how to shift the gears. He showed her how to balance her weight when she turned. Jess listened. Her shoulders dropped a little. She nodded. "Okay," she said. "I think I've got it." "Then let's try something simple," Hawk said. He walked to the front of the bike. "I'm going to push you. Real slow. You just steer and keep your feet up. Feel the motion." Jess took a breath. Hawk put his hands on the handlebars and started to push. The bike rolled forward, slow and easy. Jess wobbled once, then steadied herself. She rolled across the yard, Hawk walking beside her. "You're doing good," Red called out from the grill. "Look at you go." Jess laughed. It was a bright sound, full of surprise, like she had not expected to be able to do it. She rolled to the end of the yard and stopped, planting her feet. "I did it," she said. "I actually did it." Hawk nodded. "You sure did. Now let's do it again." And again. And again, until it feels like breathing. Lily smiled. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. She remembered the first time Hawk had taught her anything. It had been a simple self-defense move, nothing scary, but he had been patient. He had not rushed her. He had let her go at her own pace. Her eyes moved to the picnic table in the shade. Dorothy sat at one end, pouring lemonade from a big pitcher. Mabel sat across from her, a stack of cards in her hands. Ruth was next to them, laughing at something. Their heads were close together, and they were having a fine time. "Your turn," Mabel said loudly, pointing at Dorothy. "And don't cheat. I know you." Dorothy rolled her eyes. "I have never cheated at cards in my life." "You just lost 3 hands in a row," Ruth said. "Statistically impossible unless you're holding back." The 3 of them burst out laughing. It was a warm sound, like old friends sharing a secret. They had become a team, these 3 women. They visited Second Chances almost every day. They brought cookies. They told stories. They put the fear of God into anyone who tried to cut in line. Lily watched them and thought about how much had changed. A few months ago, she had been hiding in a beanie, shaking from fear. Now she was sitting in the sun, surrounded by people who loved her. It did not feel real sometimes. But it was. Sophia came over and sat down. She handed Lily a glass of cold water. "You look happy," Sophia said. "I am," Lily said. "I really am." Sophia nodded. "It suits you." The afternoon drifted on. More people arrived. Bear brought out a guitar and started playing something soft. Ghost, as usual, stood in the shadow of the garage, watching everything with a small smile. The music mixed with the sound of laughter and the sizzle of the grill. Hawk had parked the bike now. Jess was sitting on it, practicing her balance. She was not moving, just sitting and feeling the weight. Hawk stood beside her, talking in low tones. Then, he looked up. His eyes found Lily across the yard. He waved her over. Lily set her plate down and walked across the grass. The sun felt good on her shoulders. She reached Hawk and Jess. "What's up?" she asked. Hawk reached into the saddlebag on the bike. He pulled out a helmet. It was black and shiny, with a small flame design on the side. He held it out to her. "Come for a ride with me," he said. Lily looked at the helmet. Then she looked at him. "Now?" "Now," he said. "The highway is empty this time of day. The sun is perfect, and I want to show you something." She took the helmet. It was heavier than she expected. She turned it over in her hands. "I've never been on a bike," she said. "I know," Hawk said. "That's why I'm going to be the one to take you." She thought about it for a second. Then, she smiled. Okay, she put the helmet on. It fit snugly over her head. Her hair poked out from underneath, catching the breeze. She climbed onto the back of the bike, finding her place. Her hands settled on Hawk's shoulders. "Hold on tight," he said. "I will," she said. He kicked the engine to life. It rumbled below them, deep and powerful. Lily felt the vibration through her legs. She took a breath. Red raised his spatula in a salute. Dorothy waved. Mabel shouted something that was lost in the rising wind. Ruth pressed her hands to her heart and smiled. Jess looked at Lily with wide eyes. "See you later." Lily called out. Her voice was bright. She looked once more at the clubhouse, at the flag hanging from the porch, at the crowd of people who had become her family, at the women waving from the picnic table, at Red grilling his burgers, and Bear strumming her guitar, and Ghost standing silent and still. Then, the bike rolled forward. They pulled onto the road. The wheels caught the asphalt. The engine sang. Lily felt the wind on her face, on her arms, through her hair. Her hair flowing free in the wind. She laughed. It was a clear, golden sound that carried over the rumble of the engine. She closed her eyes for just a moment, feeling the warmth of the sun and the speed of the ride. Behind them, the clubhouse grew smaller, the people grew smaller. But the waving hands kept on. Dorothy's arms went up, Mabel's hat blew off, and she chased it. Ruth's laughter floated in the air. Hawk took the corner onto the highway. The road opened up in front of them like a ribbon, wide and long and full of promise. Lily leaned into the turn. She let go of one hand for just a second, raising it to the sky. The wind screamed past her. She laughed again. The bike rode on. And for a moment, the whole world was nothing but the road, the sun, and the sound of Lily's happy laughter flowing in the wind. I hope you like this story. Please share what's your favorite part of the story and where in the world you are watching from. Have a wonderful day.